Part 74. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 732. The Murong family gave Ming Lily a bowl of rice, but the Murong family's bowl was really bad. He is shameless. You and your mother are also shameless. You have a pure and despicable soul in your bones. You are jealous when you see a man. If I had known this, I am also a man. I should have satisfied you long ago. Murong Chuking was pressed behind Lily. Lily couldn't see his face clearly. She could only feel his breath blowing on her shoulder blades when he spoke. A feeling of nausea came to her heart. Murong Chuking continued to say, "Despicable things are only born to seduce men. You can't live for a day without a man. Why are you mother and daughter so mean? Why don't you die?" As he spoke, he reached out and made a fist, and hit the jade wall hard on the side. "Get out of here." Lily couldn't help but started to struggle. Murong Chuking looked at her struggle and laughed like a madman. He bit Lily's shoulder with great force, as if he wanted to pull Lily's shoulder away. A piece of skin and flesh was torn off. When you are tired of playing with it, give it to the young city master to play with and see how long he can live. After Murong Chuiching said this, he threw Lily to the ground with just one force, and saw her coughing in embarrassment. He looked like he was grinning, and there were bloodshot eyes at the corners of his mouth, so he stuck out his tongue to lick it. Lily endured the pain on her shoulder and did not reach out to touch it. Instead, she shivered and wanted to reach out and pull her clothes over. Murong Chuking stared at her condescendingly, as if he was looking at a despicable thing. Lily suddenly, "I feel pity for the original owner. She has been living in the shadow of Murong Chuiching. After her mother remarried when she was young, she was afraid of ending her wandering life, so after she got stable, the most important thing she told her was to be patient and avoidance. Her growth during this period, Murong Chuking almost treated her like a piece of trash. Even if Ming's mother made a mistake in marrying Murong Fan, it was beyond her control. Murong Chuking would not go to Ming's mother to settle accounts or seek revenge from Murong Fan. Instead, he came to look for the poor little original owner. "How long my husband lives is none of your business, but you will definitely die earlier than him. When your mother died, didn't your heart die with her? Madman!" she finished. Murong Chuiking's expression changed drastically. "You little bitch, you are looking for death. You dare to kill me? This is not the territory of your Murong family. From now on, I don't need to see your Murong Chang's favored face. If you dare to touch me again in the future, I will tell the city lord and let him kill you." Lily ate one today. Looking back at Menki, his clothes were torn apart by Murong Chuiching just now. If this matter breaks out, regardless of whether she is a victim or not, the world is always harsh on women. If her clothes are torn off and people find out, it will always be her who has not kept her honor. She cannot avenge Murong Chuking now, but she will definitely do so in the future. I will take this tone back to the maid who led the bearer away today. She must make this man look good when she goes back. Murong Chuiching had a gloomy face. When he heard Lily's words, he couldn't help but raised his head and laughed. He swung out the long whip in his hand. Lily squinted her eyes and didn't hide. The whip passed by her cheek like a snake. After twisting a few strands of hair, he pulled it back. He looked at Lily with sinister eyes for a long time. Lily did not dodge and stared at him coldly. His brows and eyes were full of sinisterness. His expression was ferocious, as if he wanted to eat someone. The handsome face was slightly distorted, and the body was getting closer and closer to Lily. The eyebrows seemed to be pressed into the slender eyes, bringing out a cold and forbidding look. His eyes were red, like a lion that chooses people to devour. It seemed as if he wanted to tear the person apart and devour him in one bite. Just the cold look in his eyes made people feel trembling. Lily's heart tightened, and her eyes met his frantic eyes. After a while, Murong Chuiching put away the long whip and grinned. There was still blood on his lips that had not been licked up. Now he grinned, his face was full of evil spirit. He stretched out the pad of his left thumb to gently wipe away the blood, and then stretched out his tongue to lick it all. He looked evil and awe-inspiring. You think marrying into Xiao City is the end? My mother's revenge, you little bitch, will never be done with this in your lifetime. I will let you go for now, but you will never escape my grasp. As soon as he finished speaking, he tiptoed, and his body was as flexible as a bird, and he flew up. After a few points of Qinggong, his figure quickly disappeared. The other person had gone far, but the aftertaste of the words behind him was still there, like a magic spell. It weighs heavily on people's hearts. As soon as he left, Lily's tense heart breathed a sigh of relief. A lot of cold sweat broke out on her forehead. The clothes underneath were torn to pieces by Murong Chui Ching. She had to forcefully close them up and straighten the belt. The skin was scratched, and now she stretched out her hand to touch it, and it felt like it was burning. Lily walked out with difficulty, and the chariot was already waiting outside. The Murong family's dowry girl was standing there with lowered eyebrows, as if nothing had happened just now. With a sneer, Lily suppressed the pain in her shoulders and the murderous intention in her heart, twisted her skirt and calmly sat on it again. She was quickly lifted up on the chariot, which had been delayed for a while because of Murong Chewiking's appearance. The reason is that the bearer carrying the sedan chair did not dare to hide at this time. He used Qinggong with his feet. In less than half an hour, he had already appeared outside the main palace of Xiao City. In addition to the servants waiting in Nyoda's palace, the lord of Xiao City, Li Zhaocheng, his wife, and Li Zhaoyang were all waiting outside the palace. The Li family's heirs had never been successful. I don't know if it was due to luck. From the first generation of the lord of Xiao City, the number of children was decreasing. Worse than the previous generation, Li Zhao's father could still give birth to 2 sons, but in Li Zhaokeng's generation, he only had 1 son, Li Yangzi. The unique skills practiced by the Li family are the ancestral secrets of the North Ming dynasty. Only the direct bloodline of the Li family can practice them. If you are the daughter-in-law of the Li family, you can practice it as a couple. Once you practice the secret technique, coupled with the swordsmanship passed down by the Li family, you can practice it. It is said that no one can stop anyone in the world with 1 sword, but such a secret also has its flaws. The more you practice, the more cold your mind becomes, which is not good for your ears. People with higher cultivation levels have almost reached the state of seeing through the void. Therefore, the descendants of the Li family have a cold temperament, and all of them are as arrogant as the immortals. After practicing this kind of swordsmanship, everyone's hearts are as calm as water. Aren't they like gods? When Lily came in, Li Zhaocheng was sitting in the first place. Next to him was Li Yangzi's mother. She had been in seclusion for many years, but because her son was critically ill in the past 2 years, she did not go into seclusion anymore. Mrs. Li was about 20 years old, and her expression cold, with a hint of ice and snow between her brows. Her appearance is extremely beautiful, but she seems a bit cold. Compared with the relegated immortal Li Zhaoyang, Li Zhaocheng does not look inferior to his younger brother. Although he is much older, martial arts practitioners are not prone to aging. Coupled with the influence of Li's unique skills, he is even far better than Li Zhaoyang. The original owner has never met him in the plot. When Ming Lily married into Xiao City, the death of his son and the scandal of his daughter-in-law almost made Li Zhaocheng go crazy. After his son's funeral was arranged, he handed over Xiao City to Li Zhaoyang. He and his wife had closed a life and death barrier, so this was Lily's first time seeing the lord of Xiao City. He was wearing a soft silver grey robe, and his long hair was just tied up in a bun on his head with a wooden hairpin. When Lily came in, he couldn't help but frown at first, but he soon calmed down. "Daughter-in-law, please say hello to your father and mother," and say hello to your second uncle." Lily endured the pain on her shoulders and bowed to the three of them. Li Zhaocheng nodded with a smile. Li Zhaoyang sat aside, with a cold expression and a noble temperament, as if he was not stained by dust. Although he is young, he is quite talented in practicing the mysteries of the North Ming dynasty. He has practiced a lot. In fact, at such a young age, his mind has already been very indifferent. In fact, he did not recognize Bai He at all. That day, he went to Murong's house to confront Bai He. The favor of giving him clothes was just a casual gesture. The girl who was crazy about him was not remembered in his heart. Apart from caring about martial arts and swordsmanship, his heart did not stop for other things. In the plot, if it were not for Ming Bei and him, the unexpected one-night stand cast a shadow on him, but he would not be so humiliated that he felt sorry for Murong Xiang'er after the marriage and finally fell in love with her. There was no shadow of Lily in his eyes at this moment, but Lily was not the original owner who always remembered his act of wearing clothes and fell in love with him. Therefore, he didn't take it seriously to Li Ziyang's indifference and walked towards the three of them respectively. After the ceremony, Li Zhaocheng did not let Lily sit down, but waved to her. Injured, there was a faint smell of blood on her body, and Li Zhaocheng smelled it. The beautiful young woman with a cold expression on the side smiled sweetly. When Lily came closer, she stood up, took Lily's hand, and touched her injured face. Girls are always vulnerable to injury. My stepmother will teach you a few tricks so that you can protect yourself and won't get hurt easily again. Perhaps the news of Li Yangzi's survival had been received by the couple a long time ago. At this moment, the two of them treated Lily with unexpected love and care. The beautiful young woman had someone send pills to her. Brothers Li Zhaocheng and Li Zhaoyang were still waiting in the palace. According to the news, they had sent for Tianshan fortune tellers half a month ago, hoping to ask them to find a way to prolong Li Yangzi's life against the will of heaven. However, even with the financial resources of the Li family, unfortunately, the effect was very little, so they had no choice but to resort to the Kongzi trick. He originally thought it would be a fatal outcome, but he didn't expect that this most useless trick actually allowed Li Yangzi, who originally thought he would not survive last night, to survive. When Lily went out in the morning, Tianshan's well-known fortune teller had already gone to the Shaocheng Lord's mansion to read Li Yangzi's fortune-telling. The reason why the two couples did not rush there was because they were afraid that they would not be able to bear the sadness of a white-haired man sending a black-haired man away. They have been practicing the secrets of the North Ming dynasty for a long time, and their minds are cold. However, if their only son dies early, the couple still cannot bear such a blow. If there is a gap in the state of mind, it will be impossible to break through it until the day when the skill reaches the state of seeing through the way of heaven. Go to the void. They didn't know whether Li Yangzi had really passed the ordeal, or just had a comeback, so they wanted to invite Lily to ask about the situation in detail and wait for the fortune teller's reply. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 733. Worried that Lily would not be comfortable in the palace, the beautiful woman pulled her away first. The city lord's palace has been passed down for hundreds of years. All kinds of exotic flowers and plants were planted around it, making people feel like they are in a fairyland. Almost all the servants here, they all have martial arts skills, and the surroundings are quiet. Ms. Li is wearing a soft lavender robe, and her waist is only lightly tied with a ribbon. She is not as gorgeous as Ming's mother in the plot, but she also has her own unique temperament. She married when she was young. After entering Zixiao City, Li Zhaocheng practiced the secrets of Baiming. The couple had been married for more than 10 years before giving birth to their only son. It's not that she doesn't love her son, it's just that she has practiced martial arts for a long time and doesn't know how to love. I will trouble you more in the future. I just hope Yangzi can get through this and go smoothly from now on. When Ms. Li spoke, she turned her head and stretched out her hand to straighten Bailey's hanging hair. It was cut neatly, and it was cut off by Murong Chuiching, who injected her true power with a long whip when she entered the city lord's palace. She narrowed her eyes, and finally sighed, "Poor child. Mrs. Li is cold and cold." She claims that she cannot be a mother, but her Sai at this moment is far more comfortable than a gentlewoman like Ming's mother. The fortune teller came back and spread the news that Li Yangzi's fate was extremely weird at this time. Logically speaking, he was already destined to die. His fortune teller could not survive last night, but he miraculously survived. This had to make these Tianshan fortune tellers the soldier side. There seemed to be a heavy fog in his life at the moment, making it difficult to see what was going to happen in the future. The Black Death aura that originally shrouded him turned gray. I don't know if it was good or bad, but in general, Lily's lucky break last night was successful, proving that her horoscopes and those of the young city master were very consistent, which made Mrs. Li's eyes look at Lily softer. When returning to the mansion, Li Zhaocheng and his wife did not come because the fortune tellers dissuaded them. Li Zhaocheng was full of momentum and good luck, while Li Yangzi's situation was unknown at this time. "I'm afraid that when the city lord comes, the young city lord won't be able to bear this kind of luck, and it will be unsightly to be hit." When Lily was sent back to the palace again, Li Yangzi was still lying in the palace. Unlike before when Lily left, his face was red and sweaty. Now he has returned to his previous pale appearance, his eyebrows like distant mountains are slightly wrinkled, and his handsome face shows a bit of pain. "Young madam," the girl followed Lily with a basin in her hands. Lily took the handkerchief handed by the servant and wiped her face and hands. She ignored the servant and quickly entered the inner room with her skirt twisted. "Are you feeling better?" She sat on the exquisite wooden footrest with some worry, her upper body lying on the edge of the bed. The underskirts were spread all over the floor. Such movements made her face very close to Li Yangzi. His breathing seemed to be nothing. When she was so close, she could feel the chill in his breath. Lily felt faintly in her heart. "I regretted it a little. If I had known that he would suffer such torture when he entered the mission with me, it would be better to let him stay in the starry sky. I'm used to seeing his cold and powerful appearance." Leng Heshu looked at his weak look at this moment, and Lily felt a little uncomfortable. She stretched out her fingertips and gently traced his eyebrows. She had washed her hands when she just entered the room, and her fingertips were still a little cold now, but his face, it was actually colder than her fingertips. Lily shivered as soon as she touched it. Li Yangzi's eyes, which were closed tightly, moved twice under the thin eyelids, and her eyelashes flashed. A pair of eyes slowly opened. At that moment Lily instinctively held her breath. Li Yangzi's pale, porcelain-like skin had no color at all. At that moment, his eyes became the only color. The light was a little dim, but it did not diminish its beauty. On the contrary, because it seems to be enveloped in smoke, it gives people a very amazing feeling like Jiangnan after the rain. After a while, his eyes gradually became focused. This time, the situation was obviously serious. His eyes gradually became brighter, and he turned towards Lily. His breath seemed to be absent, and the corners of his mouth slightly curled up, and he was about to raise his hand to grab her hand with difficulty. But he smelled the smell of blood from Lily very keenly, and his eyes slowly became colder. "Who did it?" His cold fingertips gently caressed her cheek. His tone seemed weak due to his weakness, but the shock and anger in his eyes was unmistakable. As soon as he spoke, his calmness suddenly disappeared. He seemed a little messy, and even coughed twice. This time he got out of control. His coughing gradually became more serious, and his breathing became more and more rapid. The silver slant-collared robe he was wearing was hanging around his neck. When they met, a layer of crimson color appeared on his neck due to the cough, and it seemed that it was a little difficult to breathe. Lily stretched out her hand and pulled his clothes apart, revealing a large piece of white jade-like chest. "Murong favors you." Lily didn't hide it from him. There were no servants in the house at the moment. When Lily came in, people were standing in the outer room waiting. Anyway, according to these people's martial arts skills, if something goes wrong, they can call them at any time. Can come in. Li Yangzi closed his eyes and coughed twice. He reached out and accurately grabbed Lily's hand that was holding his clothes, and put it against his chest. He panted rapidly for a while before calming down. Get down on your stomach. After saying these words, he seemed to have exhausted all his strength and fell silent again. Because of his cough just now, his fair face had two sickly blushes, and his lips were slightly bloodier. His eyebrows were slightly lighter, like distant mountains, but his eyelashes were long and thick. Li Yangzi's former beauty lay in elegance and elegance, which was unattainable. But the sickly posture at this moment inexplicably gave Lily a sense of beauty and beauty, which made people pity her but also couldn't help but want to get close to her. With this thought in her mind, Lily couldn't help but reached out and grabbed his clothes, raised her upper body and leaned towards him, and gently rubbed her lips on his very pale lips. The cold lips were dyed with her warmth. Slowly as it warmed up a bit, the tip of her tongue swept across his lips, leaving a lingering color. Li Yangzi, who had his eyes closed, opened his eyes helplessly and looked at her. Lily had never been so proactive in the past when he was not like this. His eyes fell on the place where her cheek was scratched by the jade wall, which had already left a mark. A cold look flashed in Li Yangzi's eyes, signaling her to turn her head away. Lily lay quietly on his chest. His heartbeat was very soft and not beating fast, but all this made her feel at ease. When she was about to say something, Li Yangzi raised her hand. Li Yangzi stood up, and the cold hand slowly pulled her collar away. Just as Lily was about to struggle, Li Yangzi said feebly, "Do not move." As expected, she stopped moving. The wound bitten by Murong Chuiqing in the morning was now scabbed, and the dried blood stuck her clothes and the wound together, making it painful to move. Although she couldn't see the injury on her back shoulder, Lily could feel that Murong Chuiqing was not gentle. She cursed the pervert a few times in her heart and felt Li Yangzi's hand caressing her red and swollen wound. The wound became inflamed after covering it for a while, and it hurt so much that he couldn't even raise his hand. But he didn't know if it was because of the coldness of his palms. When his fingertips touched the wound, Lily felt a cool feeling, and the pain seemed to be relieved a little. Li Yangzi's breath was weaker than before at this moment, and his white porcelain face seemed to have lost its brilliance and became a little gray. The wound on Lily's shoulder healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. This time he chose a body that was most beneficial to him to enter the mission, but this time because his body had already died long ago, he was suppressed more severely. If he wanted to remove all the death energy from this body, originally, it would take a while for him to be bullied by others when he was at Lily. In the past, he knew that Lily was being abused and he didn't care, but he couldn't tolerate seeing the scars left by Murong Chuiqing on Lily when she entered the mission. Therefore, he had accumulated a little strength on the day he entered the mission, but now he was using it to heal her injuries. He might have to sleep for a while in the coming days. When Li Yangzi's arms fell weakly and fell on Lily, his eyes that were not completely closed saw Lily's somewhat panicked face, and he couldn't help but smile bitterly. How could he have done such a stupid thing in the past? If he is so weak now, he will encounter an enemy. It was really troublesome, but he thought that Lily would be in pain, and he didn't regret his actions. He wanted to tell Lily not to panic, and she would sleep for a few days at most, just to let this body sleep temporarily, but the words didn't come to his lips. "I can't say it anymore." Lily was a little alarmed to find that Li Yangzi's heartbeat had slowed down even more. When she wanted to stand up, the hands that were originally resting on her back fell down weakly. The clothes on her chest were a little messy because she had just laid down. The whiteness of his face was tinged with blue-gray, just like the Li Yangzi he saw when he woke up after entering the mission last night, as if he was dead. If his chest wasn't still warm, Lily might have really thought that something had happened to Li Yangzi. Frightened, fine beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. At this moment, Li Yangzi was unconscious. Lily's heart was beating very fast. She couldn't help but want to reach out to hold her clothes, but found that she was still in pain just now. There was no feeling in the wound now. When I reached out and scratched it, I only found a scar still stained with blood. The original bite area was smooth and flat. I figured that Li Yangzi's lethargy must be related to this. An unknown fire surged out of her heart. Lily gathered Li Yangzi's clothes with a sullen face, touched his ice-cold body, stood up and walked outside, calls a Feng. Hefen Xiao was the two personal girls assigned to her by the Murong family when she married into Xixiao City. Mingbai was not Murong Fan's biological daughter, and her marriage to Li Yangzi was just for fun. Murong Fan didn't even think about her. What's the use in the future? Naturally, I can't bother to prepare any dowry and confidence for her. Mingbei's reputation in the Murong family was too bad when she got married. She was favored by Murong and was beaten and scolded all the way up when she was a child. The servants of the Murong family didn't she respected her, but before she got married, it was revealed that she was the fiancée of Murong Xiang and even the servants of the Murong family looked down upon her. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 734. If Hefen hadn't ordered the bearer to go away today, Lily wouldn't have been blocked by Murong Chuking, and Li Yangzi wouldn't have had to heal her injuries, which led to her unknown fate. The more she thought about it, the more hatred she felt. The servant on the other end was surprised when he saw her cold face, but he went to look for Hefen without hesitation. Lily thought about it and asked someone to prepare a long whip. When Hefen was summoned, Lily immediately had someone pull her into the yard. What does the second young lady want to do? Hefen had served Ming Lily for several years in the Murong family. He knew her cowardly and timid character. In the past, she did not dare to say a word when she was bullied. She had to endure it. When she called out Zhao in her dream, it was she and Xiao Yu who told Murong Xiang about the name Mr. Yang. In the end, everyone in Murong's family knew about it. Today, she secretly summoned several of the slaves who were carrying the chariot. She originally thought that Lily would only know how to use it. She swallowed her anger. After all, she was alone with Murong Chuiqing at that time. He Fengliang and Lily didn't dare to say anything if she suffered a loss. Unexpectedly, she dared to have someone call her over now. Hefen was surprised at first and tense, then a sarcastic look appeared on his face. I'm in a bad mood. You're not very pleasing to me. Lily waved her hand lazily, signaling the others to hold on to He Feng. Before He Feng could speak, she swung the whip in her hand and raised it to whip at He Feng, but her hands were weak, and Mingbei had never practiced martial arts in the past. Even if she struck out in anger this time, the beating would at best cause her flesh and skin to ache, without even leaving a mark. You come and fight for me. As long as no one is killed, Murong Chuiqing can be sent back alive to avoid killing anyone. My mother will blame me for marrying someone and being ignorant. Lily swung her long whip. She knew that she would have to vent her anger personally. The servants in Li Yangzi's house in Xixiao City were all very skilled. She handed the whip to someone, and the woman was stunned for a moment. He accepted it respectfully, although he didn't know why Hefen offended the young city lord's wife, but Lily brought the young master back to life when he married her, and now his status is different. Of course, what she said was what she said. The long whip roared in the air, and it was whipped towards Zifeng's face. The girl was shocked when she saw it, and she wanted to dodge, but she couldn't dodge after being caught. He beat her until her skin was torn apart, and she didn't even make a sound. A large amount of cold sweat poured out from behind like a waterfall. In the past, when Ming Lily was beaten, Heffen always saw a joke. Now that the whip fell on her body, she realized how painful it was. She couldn't even eat and drink 5 lashes, and she fainted directly. Lily was not prepared to beat the person to death to avoid this. My own strength is not high now. He caused trouble for Li Yangzi, so he suppressed the anger in his heart and had people beat He Feng half to death before sending her back. In the inner room, Li Yangzi's body felt as cold as ice at one moment, and as hot as fire at the next. Even inviting fortune tellers did not help. Lily originally planned to practice physical training in the past few days, but now Li Yangzi is like this. I don't feel at ease at all. No wonder there is any magic bullet at this time. Li Yangzi couldn't swallow it at all. A large amount of hidden elixirs were sent to Xixiao City. Mrs. Li even came a few times to help Li Yangzi use his energy to sustain his life, but as soon as the internal power entered Li Yangzi's body, just like a stone sinking into the sea, there is no consciousness anymore. Fortunately his chest was still warm, so it was obvious that the man was still alive. For a few days, Lily didn't dare to close her eyes at night and kept touching his chest, and the man naturally became haggard. These days are not peaceful. Li Yangzi is critically ill in Xixiao City. He heard that there was an assassin. Li Zhaocheng was furious and ordered the city to be withdrawn and investigated. However, he guarded Li Yangzi all day long and did not pay attention to what was going on outside. 5 days later, before Li Yangzi woke up, Li Zhaocheng sent someone to tell Lily that Murong Chuking, who was seeing off his bride, was going back to the Murong family and wanted to see her sister before leaving. Hearing Murong Chuking's name, Lily's heart surged with murderous intent. Looking at the disciples from Xixiao Palace who came to convey the message, she just nodded lightly. Originally, she didn't want to send Murong Chuiqing off. She didn't think that Murong Chuking really wanted to see her. She was afraid that he wanted to kill her and then do it. But Li Zhaocheng had already spoken, so Lily had to suppress the resentment in her heart and follow the woman who told her the news. Murong Chuiqing was a guest in the main side hall of Xixiao City. When Lily followed her mother-in-law into the hall, he was wearing a silver brocade robe, with long hair hanging loose. His face was pale, but his lips were red, and his chin was like a cone. When he heard when there was a sound, he lowered his hand that was covering his chest, his Adam's apple rolled, and his eyes were sinister like a ghost, which made people shudder. When he saw Lily, he smiled fiercely, revealing his white teeth, and his smile was very charming. Little bitch, you have become more assertive after getting married. It's really not easy to see you, he finished. He stood up all of a sudden, his movements seemed a bit laborious, and his pale face seemed to be a little whiter. I wonder if Lily was too worried. When he said this, it seemed as if there was something in his words, and a shadow quickly passed through his eyes. The figure approached Lily like lightning. The mother-in-law who had just led the way had already disappeared. The main hall was deserted and no one was waiting. I am afraid that the people in Xixiao City thought that the 2 brothers and sisters had something to say, so they all left out in a wise manner. No one was there. It would have occurred to me that the original owner was not on good terms with Murong Chuking. After all, when Lily married into the Li family, the person who was going to send her off should be the person closest to her. Even Ming Yujian was not willing to send off her biological sister, Ming Lily, but Murong Chuking came. Who would? Thinking that Murong Chuiqing might hurt her? Lily subconsciously wanted to retreat, but before she could even take 2 steps back, a strong smell of blood spread into her nostrils, and the hem of her skirt seemed to be stepped on. Murong Chuiqing quickly grabbed her by the waist. With a strong tug on her hair, she pulled her towards him. At that moment, Lily felt as if her scalp was about to be ripped off. She endured the pain and reached out to grab the jade hairpin on her head. When she bumped into a strong body, the smell of blood on her nose seemed to be even worse. It was a little thicker, so she took the jade hairpin in her hand and pierced it without even thinking about it. There was a soft sound, and she struck out with hatred this time, with great force. The tip of the jade hairpin sank into her body. Murong Chewiking's eyelids drooped, and his gaze tightly pinched her face, looking at her pale face now, different from the weak and pitiful look before. There was a bit of determination in her eyebrows, and the hand holding the jade hairpin was very strong, and the joints were faintly. She was white, with undisguised hatred for him in her eyes. When he looked at her, she pursed her lips tightly, grabbed the jade hairpin in her hand and started to stab him again. The body should have been in pain, but for some reason, Murong Chuking not only did not hide, but stared at Lily for a long time, and suddenly laughed ferociously. If you have the ability, you will learn to hurt people after being married for a few days. But this is not enough, you should do this. After he said that, he put one hand around Lily's waist, grabbed her hand with the other, and pulled out the jade hairpin with force. Then he took her hand and pointed the jade hairpin towards her right shoulder and stabbed it in. His original silver brocade robe was soon stained with blood. The smell of blood was so strong that it made Lily want to vomit, but Murong Chuking seemed to become excited all of a sudden and grinned. "You madman!" He grabbed Lily's hand with great strength, and there were only a few crisp sounds of click. The jade hairpin originally held in Lily's palm instantly broke into several pieces, and Murong Chuiching sneered. "Useless thing. You can't even kill people, what are you doing with your life?" After he finished speaking, the smile on his face disappeared without a trace in an instant, and he became a little angry again. "Aside from being able to seduce people, you what's the use? How long can Li Zhaokeng's son live after a few days of marriage? How can you pretend to be a chaste and martyr woman? Your mother was newly mourned. Once you become a widow, why don't you just open your legs to welcome new guests? In your bones, you are the same as your mother. Who are you pretending to show all this stuff along the way? You little bitch." His eyes gradually turned red, and the anger on his eyebrows became more and more intense. The hand holding Lily tightened her tighter and tighter, and Lily only felt like she was being wrapped around by a giant venomous python, making her hair stand on end and unable to breathe. "Little bitch." The bloody smell around him became thicker and thicker, and Murong Chewiking's expression became more and more sinister. There was a crazy murderous intent in his eyes. The long hair that he had not gathered up hung down by his face, because his she moved and slid down to Lily's face. Lily seemed to be surrounded by death. She felt as if her bones were cracking. She couldn't breathe in fresh air at all. Every time she opened her mouth to breathe, her chest hurt. Amazing, Murong Chuiching went crazy. He really wanted to kill her. "You bitch." She struggled to say 2 words. Murong Chewiking's slender eyes narrowed and his expression was uncertain. The next moment, he grinned and laughed softly again. He laughed softly at first. Then he laughed loudly and suddenly pushed Lily out with a strong force. Lily couldn't help but took several steps back, and then she fell to the ground in embarrassment. She covered her chest and coughed. Her chest hurt like a burning fire. She felt sick when she thought that her body seemed to be contaminated with the bloody smell of Murong Chuiching. Almost vomited. "You bitch. If I kill you now, it will really be an advantage for you. Go away, I don't want to see you now." He curled up his lips, pushed his long hair behind him, and slowly walked towards where he was sitting. He walked back to his position. When he turned around, his face was very pale, and a lot of blood came out from the chest of the silver white robe. The smell in the palace was even worse, but his face was expressionless, and he listened to the movement behind him. "You are a bitch. Your mother gave birth to a bitch like you." After Lily cursed the sentence, she got up and left. She really left. Murong Chewiking's face became more and more gloomy. Before he could return to his position, his figure changed. He tilted and fell into the arms of a secret guard who had been waiting in the dark for a long time. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 735. Young Master. A bunch of pills were taken out by the secret guard and stuffed into Murong Chewiking's mouth, but he spat out a large mouthful of blood with a wow sound. The pills he had just taken into his mouth were spat out again, and he said viciously. He stretched out his hand to wipe away the blood from his mouth, and grabbed Lily's hand with his hand. Murong Chewiching clenched his fist with a sinister expression. It's a pity that I couldn't kill Li Yangzi. Young Master, the Li family is not to be trifled with. Before the secret guard could finish his words, Murong Chewiking slapped him out. When the secret guard fell heavily out, he stumbled back to his seat and sat down. He went down, lowered his head, and his long hair spread out on both sides of his face, casting shadows, making his face look like a ghost in the abyss. His pointed pale chin and bright red lips, his eyebrows and eyes were hidden in the shadows. Rise up, murderous. The Li family is not easy to mess with. Li Zhaoyang is indeed capable. He sneered, and there was another coughing sound in the hall, and then it became quiet. When she stumbled out of Murong Chewiking's palace, Lily's chest bones were still aching. Thinking of the bloody smell that Murong Chewiching had just smelled on Murong Chewiking's body, Lily resisted the urge to check what was going on her body and ran away, pretending to be panicked. After leaving the palace where Murong Chewiking was, the cold feeling gradually dissipated. The sun shone on her body, driving away the chill she had just felt from Murong Chewiking's place. Lily's expression became calmer. She tilted her cheek and glanced at the palace behind her from the corner of her eye. She thought of how Murong Chewiking had gone crazy just now, and then she slowly walked back to her palace. Walking all the way back, the threatening and cold feeling of being touched by Murong Chewiking slowly dissipated. Lily walked very fast. It took less than 3/4 of an hour to get back to the mansion. She was covered in sweat from walking. The servants in the mansion handed over the handkerchief, and she took it with a trembling wrist. She didn't feel any discomfort before, but now she realized that the hand held by Murong Chewiching was somewhat bruised. At this time, she could hardly even hold the handkerchief firmly, so she hurriedly changed her hand. I wiped my face carefully, took a deep breath and entered the room when a clear voice came from inside. Young City Lord's destiny, I really can't see clearly. So, according to Mr. Egan, can the child be saved? Mrs. Lee's somewhat cold voice sounded immediately. Although her tone sounded leisurely at the moment, there was a hint of nervousness in her words. Still hearing it, she paused. He originally wanted to step forward into the inner room, but suddenly stopped and stood outside the screen without making a sound. Tianshan and Xixiao City have a deep relationship. Many years ago, I was favored by the old city lord and made a hexagram for Li's Qi. Madam also knows about the Li family's bloodline, so the population has always been thin. The young city lord's fate is 18, which is calamity. But the young madam is a variable, and now I can't see the two variables clearly. The fortune teller with a clear voice paused, and then continued. The situation of the young city master is unclear now, but it is not a good thing that he has not paid. I will take this opportunity to go back to Tianshan Mountain to explain this matter to my uncle, and ask my uncle to go down the mountain and make a divination for the young city lord. It will take half a month at most. I will definitely go to Xixiao City in 10 days at least. Thank you very much, Mr. Gan. Mrs. Lee sighed. Lily lowered her head and stood outside the screen without moving. After a while, Mrs. Lee from inside the room called out, "Come in." Although Lily's steps were light when she came back, she still startled the two people in the room. It's just that Mrs. Lee was worried about her son at that time and didn't have time to call Lily in. At this moment Lily heard her call and went in through the screen. Mr. Nagant was nowhere to be seen and had obviously left. Mrs. Lee stood beside the bed with a cold expression. "It's him," Lily replied as soon as she entered the inner room. When Mrs. Lee heard this, her eyes suddenly tightened. Xixiao City has no grudge against the Murong family. It's really him. Recently, when Li Yangzi was in a coma, the Xiaocheng lord's mansion was attacked one after another. Li Xiaocheng was furious, but the person behind the assassination was not caught. The Li family in Xixiao City is famous all over the world. Few people in the world can match the unique skills of the Li family. They dare to carry out assassinations on the Li family's territory and avoid Li Xiaocheng's sight. This is not easy. There are people in the world today who dare to attack the Li family. The songs can be counted. With his son so ill, Li Xiaocheng really couldn't figure out who would want to kill him. Li Yangzi would not live to be 18, and everyone in the world knew that no one would bother to kill a dying man. Wouldn't it be a waste of effort? After repeated inquiries, it was found that there were not many people in the world who had such skill and were so elusive. Not only was this person outstanding in martial arts, he also came and went without a trace. While Li Xiaocheng sent people to search for this person privately, he also sent his younger brother Li Xiaoyang to ambush Li Yangzi. In the mansion, the man in black from the night before came again and was repelled by Li Xiaoyang. Although he was injured, Li Xiaoyang was unable to keep this man. Afterwards, Li Xiaocheng sent people to search Xixiao City again, but he couldn't find this man. Traces come. This man neither flew to the sky nor escaped from the earth, nor did his martial arts reach the state of turning into a void, but Li Xiaocheng could not find him. This had to frighten Li Xiaocheng. It was related to his son's wealth and life. He thought about it over and over again, and asked for help. Mr. Tianshan Gan helped with divination, but he divined the location of the villain, and he actually came from the main palace of Xixiao City. The Li family guarded one side and established themselves as kings. The children in the city were loyal to the Li family. There was no way that there would be such a person who wanted to kill Li Yangzi. After thinking about it, Li Xiaocheng thought of Murong Chuking, the only outsider in the Li family's palace. As the next leader of the Murong family, Murong Chuiqing has outstanding martial arts skills. If it is really him, it is indeed possible that he can fight with Li Xiaoyang without dying. However, the eldest daughter of the Murong family, Murong Xiang'er, has been promised to Li Xiaoyang as his wife, and the family is married to Qin Jin. So good, now Li Yangzi married Lily again, and the two families became more intimate. Li Xiaocheng couldn't figure out why Murong Chuking would attack his son. The night before yesterday, Li Xiaoyang slashed Murong Chuiqing to death with a sword. Li Xiaocheng tested it and found that Murong Chuiqing was not injured. Moreover, he did not know whether Murong Chuiqing was truly innocent or if he had a secretive mind. Li Xiaocheng's tests yielded no results. Not only was he watertight, there was no clue that this matter really had nothing to do with him. After all, there was still an in-law relationship. It was impossible for Li Xiaocheng to act without authorization before the matter was clear. What's more, the Li family really didn't understand the reason why Murong Chuiqing took action against Li Yangzi. Therefore, today Murong Chuiqing proposed when he was about to leave Xixiao City and wanted to see his sister Lily again. Li Xiaocheng agreed, hoping that Lily would give it a try. It was about Li Yangzi's life, so Lily naturally agreed. In fact, when she stepped into Murong Chuiqing's palace, she had already felt the smell of blood on Murong Chuiqing's body, and knew that he was probably the one injured by Li Xiaoyang. He was covered in blood at that time. The anger was so strong that I don't know what method he used to escape Li Xiaocheng's eyes. According to Xiaoyang, those who can escape from him have extremely high martial arts skills and have not yet used the Murong family's secret skills. Murong's favor should not be underestimated. Mrs. Li's face was a little ugly, and she held her hand. The Li family and the Murong family have always known each other. There is no grievance or enmity, so he attacked Yangzi. Is it because of Murong Xiang'er? Murong Xiang'er and Li Xiaoyang had already decided to get married, and it hadn't been long since they were divorced. Madame Li couldn't help but wonder if Murong Chuiqing wanted to kill Li Yangzi because once her son died, Xixiao City would have no choice but to marry him in the future. In Li Ziyang's hands, he was paving the way for Murong Xiang'er. At this moment, Murong Xiang'er hasn't come through the door yet, but Mrs. Li's heart has suddenly grown disgusted with the sister-in-law, whom she originally had a good impression of. I'm going to tell your father to detain Murong and his entourage, thank you for your hard work. How could Mrs. Li allow Murong Chuiqing to escape? After confirming that he was the murderer, even if he attempted murder, the Li family was not that easy to mess with. What's more, Murong Chuiqing's target was his own son, so Mrs. Li would not tolerate him. Lily hurried back to detain Murong Chuiqing. Lily nodded and sat beside the bed. There was no trace of Mrs. Li in the room anymore, she had obviously left. In fact, Lily didn't feel that Murong Chuiqing wanted to kill Li Yangzi because of Murong Xiang'er. From Lily's memory in the past, Murong Chuiqing and Murong Xiang'er were two extremes. The relationship between the two siblings was not harmonious, but Li Yangzi's situation at this time unknown, Lily didn't want to care about the nonsense between the two brothers and sisters, so the idea swirled in her mind. After she remembered it, she didn't think about it anymore. But in the end, the Li family was not able to keep Murong Chuiqing here. Not long after Lily left, Murong and his party had already left Xixiao City. When Mrs. Li confirmed the news and rushed back to detain Murong Chuiqing, she rushed there. It came up empty. 10 days later, the Tianshan fortune teller who left did not make it back in time. In the past few days, Lily hardly dared to close her eyes, let alone practicing martial arts. She was afraid that he would disappear in the blink of an eye. She remembered clearly, when she entered the mission, Li Yangzi once said that if the mission was not completed and died during the mission, it would be a real disappearance. Li Yangzi followed her into the mission. I wonder if she would be sanctioned by the rules. This time she really regretted it. She shouldn't have let Li Yangzi go into the mission with her. If she had known this earlier, she would definitely not have let Li Yangzi take this risk. Thinking about him having an enemy again, Lily felt regretful. He was so shocked that he also had murderous intentions towards Murong Chuiqing. If he hadn't gone crazy and bit himself that day, Li Yangzi wouldn't have become so sleepy in order to heal her wounds. Young madam, let's have some food first. She stayed by Li Yangzi's side and did not dare to leave. The servants in Xixiao City were naturally moved by this, thinking that she was worried about the young city lord's health, but what Lily was really worried about was Li Yangzi heard someone talking at this moment. She couldn't take her eyes away from Li Yangzi's face and asked, "Is Mr. Gan back?" To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 736. In this situation, Lily can only place her hope on the fortune tellers of this era. In the background of this mission, the Tianshan fortune tellers are a very mysterious clan with some magical strength. Under Li Yangzi's current strange situation, Lily once she tried using the 5 elements Bagua array to gather spiritual energy for him, but it didn't work. He seemed like a dead person now, and his body could no longer attract external spiritual energy. Except for the fact that his chest was still warm, which made her a little panicked. The woman hadn't replied yet. Li Yangzi, who had been silent for many days, suddenly moved his eyes slightly, but then returned to his previous appearance. If Lily hadn't been staring at him and not daring to make a mistake, I'm afraid she really thought she had seen it wrong. She was surprised and lowered her body lower, staring at him closely. His skin was so white that the tiny blue blood vessels under the skin seemed to be clearly visible. In general, his eyelids are also very thin, and the outline of the eyeballs can be clearly shown. After lying for such a long time, apart from the cold body, his skin has not become dry and gray. This is why the people of Xixiao City have been holding the young city master. The reason for his death hope was that his ugly face did not detract from his peerless charm. Mr. Gan. SHH, Lily didn't even look back, interrupting what the woman was about to say. Holding her breath, she swallowed, reached out and pulled open Li Yangzi's collar, exposing a large part of her chest. Seeing such an action, Lily's eyes widened and she was speechless. Lily gently put her hand on it. The temperature there was obviously warmer than before, and she even felt it vaguely. The heart that had been silent for a long time began to beat as if it was not there at all. She lowered her head and lay down, trying hard to listen with her ears. Dongda. A slight sound rang out, and Lily bit her lip, maintaining this posture without daring to move. Young madam. Dongta. Her heart beat again, slowly. At first Lily was afraid that she was too nervous and had heard it wrongly, but it gradually picked up speed. The mother-in-law still wanted to speak, but she had already thrown herself on Li Yangzi, grabbing Li Yangzi's cold palm at her side, and said with some excitement in her voice, "Okay, okay, jump." The woman's expression was stunned, and she subconsciously came forward. Li Yangzi's heart started to beat after he had been silent for many days. The pale cheeks began to slowly gain color, and his body began to soften. It was no longer stiff and cold like before. There was gradually warmth in his body. His fingers that were originally linked to Lily were just weakly bent. After a while, it gradually closed up. When Lily said okay, the old lady still didn't understand. She didn't wait for Lily to say anything, turned around and ran out. Li Yangzi's condition got better. Although he was not completely awake, his body began to glow with vitality. His heartbeat became more and more stable. His complexion began to look better. Although his body temperature was still low, it was always normal. After getting up, Li Zhaocheng and his wife, who originally thought their son would die, breathed a sigh of relief, but Lily was still a little frightened. She stared at Li Yangzi that night and could hardly close her eyes. I was afraid of missing the scene when he opened his eyes. Everyone in Zixiao City could not close their eyes that night. Li Zhaocheng did not dare to come because of the fortune teller's assertion, and stayed on top of the city lord's palace from a distance, watching the scene here. In the early morning, before dawn, Lily kept holding Li Yangzi's hand. She felt her fingers being grasped tightly, and she pursed her lips. Her eyes, which had been closed for half a month, slowly opened. She had been waiting for him to wake up, but the moment he really opened his eyes, Lily was still shocked. I wonder if he had slept for too long. His eyes were faintly blue, and the hand that was originally holding Lily was even tighter. A little tighter. His eyes hadn't found the right focus yet, but his head turned towards Lily subconsciously, and before he could speak, Lily hugged him tightly. "Are you scared?" After a while, Li Yangzi seemed to have calmed down. Lily's haggard face was reflected in her eyes. She didn't know how long she had been asleep. She looked tired. When she entered the mission that day, his black and white eyes were full of red bloodshot eyes, and his expression was a little frightened. His girl hadn't had such a look on her face for a long time. Obviously, the days when he had been sleeping had frightened her. Li Yangzi opened his mouth, his voice was light, and he moved his fingers when he spoke, as if to test. He tried to raise his arm, but in the end there was no response. Lily buried her face on his shoulder without making a sound. She just nodded lightly after a long while. Li Yangzi woke up, and the stone in Lily's heart finally came to his senses. It was finally time to land. She had been worried for so long. Now she was really waiting for him to wake up, and then she started to feel really scared. Her throat was choked and she couldn't say a word. The hand hooked by her fingers began to slowly warm up. Lily sat on the wooden footrest for a long time before she wanted to stand up and call someone, but Li Yangzi held her and refused to let go. No, he had just woken up, and it was a little difficult to speak, but he didn't blink. He knew what Lily meant. He was a little worried about his physical condition at the moment, so he wanted to ask someone from the mission to take a look at it for him. But forget it, when he was asleep, Lily Liashan had no owner. Now that he woke up, Li Yangzi knew his situation best. Naturally, there was no need for her to call someone, not to mention it was rare to see her worried about him. Li Yangzi didn't want to be at such a moment. Some unknown person got involved. This time he entered the body of a dying person. The original owner's vitality had long been cut off. When he entered the body, in addition to transforming the body's own vitality, there were also other things such as the 8-character destiny. Originally, he should not have fallen asleep. It took such a long time, but because Lily was bitten by Murong Chui Ching, he was so suppressed that he used some of his remaining abilities to heal her injuries, and finally couldn't hold on and fell into a coma. This situation is similar to when his main body was divided into 7 seals. The lack of strength caused the main body to fall into a coma. For Li Yangzi, it was only a matter of time before he woke up, but this time the situation was not that serious. But he fell asleep before he could tell Lily, so he just shocked her. Now that he was awake, he briefly told Lily the reason intermittently. Lily heard that he was not seriously injured, and that during the period of sleep, his consciousness had been improved, and it was only a matter of time before he could transform his body. She felt relieved in her heart, but thinking that he said he had fallen asleep like this when he was sealed, Lily's heart sank again. Li Yangzi's behavior this time really scared her. This was only during the mission. According to what he said, even if he fell asleep during the mission, he would only be asleep for dozens of days at most. But if the real him was sealed, once he fell asleep, that must be thousands of years. Her heart sank, but her face remained calm. So are you feeling better now? Not that fast. He didn't have the strength to shake his head, and his eyes were still a little dry. He just fell asleep for a while, but didn't want to close his eyes. At this time, the other person woke up, but if he wanted to really use this body flexibly, he still needed to. It will take some time. His upper body is fine at the moment, and his fingers can make simple movements to hold her. The internal organs are repaired first because they are particularly important, but the lower limbs are not related to life, so they are still there at this time. Without any consciousness, he told Lily about his current situation. Li Yangzi held on for a while before falling asleep again. Lily was watching him because he was obviously tired, but could not close his eyes. At dawn, Mr. Gan, the Prime Minister of Tianshan, took him uncle she came to Xixiao City. The two of them did not come empty-handed, but brought the most precious snow lotus seeds from the Tianshan mountains. Just to collect this thing, the uncle and nephew of the two masters were delayed for 2 days. Knowing this, Li Zhaochen was naturally very grateful. If Li Yangzi was about to die before, the snow lotus seeds would not have much effect on him, but now that he has extended the life of the young city lord, the snow lotus seeds boiled into a decoction and taken, the effect was 100 times greater, 7 or 8. In a day's time, he was able to sit up. Although his lower limbs were still unable to move, if he sat on a chair, he could use his internal strength to fly on the chair instead of walking. Although the original owner was weak at first, Li Zhaocheng had spent a lot of effort on his only son since he was born. In addition to using his martial arts to forcefully extend his life, the original young city owner had to endure a lot of food in the past 18 years. Miraculous elixirs, but he was destined not to live to be 18, so the medicinal properties of those miraculous elixirs accumulated in his body and did not work. After Li Yangzi received this body, once he revived the body, he borrowed the snow lotus. The effect of Zi dissipated the accumulated energy, and with the help of Mrs. Li's skill, this huge energy turned into real power, which he could use easily. It only took about 10 days for him to go from being on the verge of death when he was awake to being able to mobilize these energies smoothly. The original owner is dead, and the fate of the 18th tribulation has passed long ago. The assertions made by Tianshan fortune tellers that father and son may have conflicting fortunes have naturally disappeared. Li Zhaocheng has only such an only son. At first, he was worried and scared but did not dare to approach easily. Now there is no taboo. Staying by his son's side every day to teach him the secrets of Li's northern Ming dynasty, until Li Yangzi's face became extremely dark. A few days ago, Lily stared at Li Yangzi day and night, fearing that something might happen to him. Now that she knew he was well, she felt relieved. She rested for 2 days and adjusted her body. While Li Yangzi was being summoned by Li Zhaocheng, after finding some spare time, she began to practice the star training technique. Occasionally, she learned a few sword skills at Madame Li's request. Time flew by quickly. Now her force level has reached 70, and the benefits of practicing the star training technique are obvious. It appeared, and it had only been practiced for less than 2 months, but the spiritual power had already been retained in the body. The original owner had not practiced any martial arts in the past. Although Mrs. Li taught her sword moves, she did not teach her internal strength. To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 737. The direct descendants of the Li family in Xixiao City all practice the secrets of Biming. Once this inner skill and mental technique is used in conjunction with sword moves, the power will be doubled. The reason why Mrs. Li does not teach her internal skills is purely because she hopes that when Li Yangzi gets better in the future, the couple is practicing Li's unique skills at the same time, which is beneficial to both husband and wife. She is afraid that Lily has just started practicing martial arts and will have mixed skills in the future, which will be detrimental to the future. 2 months passed by in a flash, and the time for the marriage originally planned by Li Zhaoyang and Murong Xiang'er was coming soon. In the plot, Ming Bei married Murong Xiang'er 3 months earlier and married into the Li family. At that time, Ming Bei's incident happened. Li Zhaoyang felt deeply humiliated, so he felt particularly guilty for his wife Murong Xiang'er, who had not yet married, so he planned the wedding in advance. Ban Yu personally went to Murong's house to marry him, but this time because of Murong Chewiking's assassination of Li Yangzi, Li Zhaocheng cast a shadow on Murong's family, so he was not as positive about the marriage as in the plot. Now Xixiao City has not been handed over to Li Zhaoyang. Anyway, it is still in his own hands. Seeing that the auspicious day set at the beginning is getting closer day by day, the Murong family did not wait until the Li clan sent people to greet them. He had no choice but to send Murong Xiang'er over in person. This marriage shocked the martial arts community on that day. Many comrades had celebrated the centuries-old marriage between Murong and the Li family because of this. But now that it has happened like this, Li Zhaocheng actually does not like Murong Xiang'er, the sister-in-law he personally selected, as much as he did at first. But the invitations had already been sent out, and no matter how much I didn't like it, when I heard that the Murong family's power had entered the boundaries of Xixiao City, I had no choice but to welcome the Murong family into the city. This time when people from the Murong family entered the city, Li Zhaocheng did not arrange for them to stay in the city lord's palace. Instead, he only led people to let them rest in an inn outside the city lord's palace. When Lily accompanied Li Yangzi back from the city lord's mansion in the evening, Li Yangzi looked calm. He still had no feeling in his legs, but he was getting more and more energetic. Li Yangzi, who has always been aloof, was recently dragged by Li Zhaocheng to learn the secrets of Biming. This really made him laugh and cry. He didn't need to learn these, but he was suppressed and entered the task now. As the person who created this world, Li Zhaocheng had a certain affection for him. In addition, Li Yangzi was Li Zhaocheng's only son this time and had barely escaped death. At this time, Li Zhaocheng wished he could give everything he had to him. She taught him everything she knew. Not only did she collect a large number of miraculous medicines, but she also taught him martial arts very carefully. Li Yangzi fell asleep for half a month and scared Lily. He knew it well, so for the sake of those pills and in order to get better soon, he would still go to the palace every day. If Lily did not accompany him to the palace every day, she would usually come to pick him up. The chair he was sitting on was a chair Li Zhaocheng specially asked the Nanhaiguan family to build for him. It was similar to a modern wheelchair. But the material is tempered from meteorite iron, which can not only withstand the pressure of a large amount of real power, but also contains hidden weapons. Murong Chewiking's assassination of Li Yangzi made Li Zhaocheng particularly interested in the life of his only son. Li Zhaocheng only had such a son, and he almost lost it and found it. Now he looks like a treasure. After Murong Chewiking's assassination happened that day, he became more and more concerned about his son's life. He could still stare at him when he was in front of him, but the tiger still there are tons of times, let alone if they leave his presence. No matter how many people protect his son behind his back. But if any master really attacked Li Yangzi, he was afraid that Li Yangzi would not be able to protect himself, so he went to the Nanhaiguan gate on his behalf to ask for a chair with a heavy gift and a promise of his own. Although the lower body is not able to move at the moment, for Li Yangzi, he didn't pay attention to this minor flaw at all. In fact, he was more worried about another thing. During the time when he was in a coma, except for some parts of himself that he had absorbed, Yun Munan, who was forcibly sealed by him, was nowhere to be seen. However, Lily was frightened by his previous coma, and he did not. She was ready to tell this matter to worry her, so Li Yangzi hadn't mentioned it until now. She pushed the chair, and the wheels made a very rhythmic sound as they rolled on the washed bluestone floor tiles. The setting sun cast long shadows on the two of them, revealing an indescribable sense of coordination. The two of them obviously liked this way of getting along. Even if they didn't say a word, the intimacy between the two showed in every gesture. Out. The secret guards were hiding far away and did not follow. Li Yangzi was wearing a soft gray-blue robe. The robe was not hemmed and the sleeves were slightly wider. His long hair was just tied up with a ribbon. The color of his cheeks returned to his face. She looked a little cooler than when she was weak. Before they returned to their residence, a girl emerged from the corner not far away. Seeing the scene here, she hurriedly ran over. "Young madam, the Murong family outside the city sent a note saying that young madam's mother and brother have arrived and hope to get together with young madam." While the little girl was talking, she held a big red sticker with both hands. Before Lily reached out to take it, Li Yangzi had already stretched out his hand. The girl glanced at Lily and handed the sticker to Li Yangzi respectfully. He opened it and saw neat but unfamiliar words on the post saying that the Murong family wanted to meet Li Zhaocheng and his wife, and the name of Mrs. Murong's mother was signed on it. They said they wanted to meet Lily, but in fact, what the Murong family really wanted to see was Li Zhaocheng and his wife. Murong Xiang'er had already arrived at Zixiao City early today, but Li Zhaocheng taught his son martial arts during the day, and in addition, he wanted to assassinate Li Yangzi against Murong Chewikong. He was very unforgivable. Murong Chewikong ran away so fast that day that he missed the opportunity to catch Murong Chewikong and question him. Later, Li Zhaocheng sent people to chase him 30 miles out of the boundaries of Zixiao City, but failed to catch Murong Chewikong. That day, although the incident had passed, Li Zhaocheng had a knot in his heart, and he naturally did not want to see Murong Xiang'er. Therefore, when the Murong family's team entered Zixiao City, he had no intention of meeting them at all. Instead, he kept the group in the city. Ignore it. The marriage was decided early in the morning, and all the martial arts comrades rushed to Zixiao City within a few days. The two families were married to Qin and Jin, and they were not small families. The wedding was not long ago, but Zixiao there is still no movement in the city, so the Murong family is naturally a little anxious, fearing that something unexpected will happen. Zixiao City destroyed the marriage in this way. Even if the people in the world accuse Li Zhaocheng of bullying others, Murong Xiang'er is still a girl. Once the marriage goes wrong, how can she hold her head high in the world in the future? Isn't this ruining your whole life? Li Xiaoyang has a cold temperament. This marriage was originally decided by his eldest brother. He has no personal relationship with Murong Xiang'er, so when his fiancée arrives, he is not enthusiastic. He has been obsessed with swordsmanship all his life. If Li Xiaocheng does not arrange it, he ignored him even more, and the Murong family became embarrassed. Seeing that many people from the martial arts community came one after another to ask for this wedding wine, the leader of the Tianshan sect, Yi Xiangxi, who had lived in seclusion for many years, all followed Mr. Gan. Shen, apart from approving orders for Li Yangzi, has no intention of participating in this grand event, but there has been no movement from the Li family so far. The Murong family is anxious and can't help but want to go to the city to find out what's going on. Lily originally didn't care about the Murong family. The original owner was too humble to have her own wishes. She didn't blame anyone for her death. She only hoped to live a peaceful life. After marrying Mr. Li, if the young city lord unfortunately died early, as long as Lily can stay a widow for her for the rest of her life, no need to cause trouble to Li Xiaoyang, no longer need to be favored by Murong and resentful because of her mother's death, she will be satisfied after getting rid of the Murong family. When clarifying the original owner's wishes, Lily does not want to deal with Murong things about the family, especially Li Yangzi's mission, almost went wrong. She didn't even think about asking about Murong Xiang'er's marriage to Li Xiaoyang, but she didn't expect that the Murong family would find her first. Seeing the name of Mrs. Murong Ming's mother signed on it, Lily's lips curled up without making a sound. Li Yangzi glanced at it, then pinched the post and threw it aside. Give it to the city lord. He knew someone would catch the post and follow his instructions. Sure enough, as soon as the post was thrown out, a grey shadow passed by very quickly, and the post was held by a finger with distinct joints. Before the man could stand still, he quickly disappeared without a trace. If the post can be sent to Xixiao City, it must be Li Xiaokeng's signal. This is just a formality. If Li Xiaocheng doesn't want Murong's family to come in, there are many ways to prevent them from contacting the people in the city lord's palace. At this time he just wanted to use Lily to step down. After all, the Tianshan sect's people are still in the city. No matter how much Li Xiaocheng hates the Murong family, with the Tianshan sect's adjustment, Li Xiaocheng can at most show off the Murong family first, but he will still receive them in the end. Before the two couples returned to the young city lord's house, a servant came to report that the city lord had invited them to hold a banquet in the palace in the evening to cleanse the Murong family, and they were invited to attend. After pushing Li Yangzi, she turned around and fell back. There was a long set of stairs in front of the hall. Lily didn't need to reach out to push her. Li Yangzi pulled her into his arms, reached out and patted the chair, and the chair flew into the air. Rushed in directly towards the stairs, so fast that the secret guard who was about to come out to lift the chair could not react at all. When he entered the hall and stopped, the people sitting in the hall suddenly turned their heads. Come, Mr. Gan and his uncle and nephew have already sat down in the city lord's palace. In addition to Li Xiaocheng, his wife, and Li Xiaoyang, people from the Murong family have also arrived in the main hall. A beautiful young woman with unparalleled elegance wearing purple palace clothes was originally in the main hall. He lowered his head to talk to a girl in aqua blue dress. Hearing the movement, he turned his head and saw Lily, who had just stood up from Li Yangzi's lap, with a bit of surprise in his eyes. To be continued. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 738. Xia Yiming's mother is now quite old, but time has been particularly kind to her. Time seems to have never stopped on her. There is no trace of having given birth to two children at all. She is much older than she was when she was young. She was very mature and charming, with a seductive aura in her every move. No wonder she still fascinated Murongfan and doted on her so many years later. She sat next to Murong Xiang'er, who had a straight back. When Lily came in, she lowered her head and was talking to Murong Xiang'er. She even lovingly lifted up a strand of Murong Xiang'er's hair that was hanging down. The two of them were like she only raised her head when her beloved mother and daughter, Bai, came in. Her hands had not yet moved away from Murong Xiang'er's shoulders. It was not until she saw her daughter's cold expression that she frowned slightly. She only thought that her daughter was doing it for herself and Murong Xiang'er. He was extremely indifferent to her despite his close attitude, seeming to sigh silently. After Ming's mother married into Murong's family, Ming Lily was equivalent to losing her father first and then her mother. Lily was not the original owner. When she saw this intimate scene between Ming's mother and Murong Xiang'er, she didn't feel too envious or distressed. She nodded slightly to Mother Ming. There were still outsiders in the palace, so she nodded unfamiliarly, "Mother." Murong Xiang'er's eyes moved away from the indifferent Li Xiaoyang, and first fell on Li Yangzi. She raised her eyebrows slightly, but when she saw him sitting on the chair, she frowned and quickly looked away. Speaking out, her appearance is not as beautiful as Ming Lily, but she has a cold and noble feeling. If the original owner compares with her, even if Murong Xiang'er's appearance is not as good as the original owner, her overall temperament is several grades higher than hers. Ming Yujian kept a cold face and said nothing. He and Ming Bei were the same child, and the two siblings had similar looks. His blue attire made him look majestic. After the death of Ming's father, the relationship between the two siblings gradually became estranged when they entered the Murong family. He was grateful for the kindness of the Murong family and liked Murong Xiang'er, a cold and noble eldest daughter. He didn't like seeing his sister look like a tortured child, and he was not close to her, especially when Ming Bei's love for Li Xiaoyang was exposed, which made him even more unhappy with the sister. Last time Lily was sent to Xixiao City to celebrate her wedding. Logically speaking, it was him, his biological eldest brother, who should send her off, but he regarded Ming Lily as ashamed, so in the end it was Murong Chuiqing who sent her off. It is ironic to say that when Ming Bei got married, her biological mother and eldest brother did not come to see her off. The person who finally sent her to Xixiao City turned out to be Murong Chuking, who had bullied her for many years. Lily didn't like Murong Zhuang's favor in her heart, but compared to the mother and son in front of her, she felt even less favorable towards Ming's mother and mother. The cold attitude between the two mother and daughter made everyone in the Tianshan sect see the clues, but Mr. Gan, the uncle and nephew, didn't want to interfere with the two women's business, so they all made excuses to drink tea with their heads down, smiling and saying nothing. Lily pushed Li Yangzi and walked towards the position left by Li Xiaocheng for the two of them. The wheels made a clicking sound as they rolled on the ground. Ming's mother glanced at Li Yangzi, and her dreamlike eyes quickly looked at Li Xiaocheng, who was sitting in the front seat. Xiang'er and Master Xiaoyang are getting married. Logically speaking, the husband should go there in person, but the Murong family really has something to do, so I will take this trip to apologize to the prince on my behalf. Ming's mother gave her a blessed gift, and she has an alluring appearance, and after bowing down, her posture is indescribably good looking, and even Mr. Tianshan Pagan couldn't help but look at her. But Li Xiaokeng's eyes did not fall on her. On the contrary, he happily greeted Li Yangzi, and the two of them sat in the specially reserved seat on the other side of him, and asked someone to bring some tea, fruit, and fruits to his son with concern. What Ming's mother said was ignored by him, and he said goodbye. Ming's mother went down with a look of embarrassment on her face. His eyes turned towards Lily. She hoped that Lily could see her current situation and help her out, but Lily thought that she had just entered the mission. Ming's mother turned her head away as if asking someone to fill her with tea. Ming's mother was dumbfounded. After a while, no one called her to get up. She had also learned some martial arts in her early years, but after marrying into the Murong family, years ago, She only did housework and served her husband every day. Unlike when she married Ming's father and the couple wandered around the sky, her years of comfortable life had already made her martial arts useless. She only squatted for a while before she felt a little uncomfortable. It was a bit hot, so she coughed twice as if to cover it up. Mrs. Li, who had always looked cold, seemed to have discovered Ming's mother's situation, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Logically speaking, the Murong family and Xixiao City, can be regarded as close relatives. Madame Murong is too polite. Master Murong has secular affairs to attend to. I wonder why young Master Murong didn't come this time, she asked. When Murong Chuking came to Chuking, Ming's mother hesitated. Zuking's wife was pregnant earlier but didn't know it. She injured her body while practicing martial arts and lost the child. It means that the child has no chance to meet his parents. Chuking received the news on the same day in Xixiao City. I hurried back to Murong's house and didn't have time to say goodbye to the prince, but it was his fault, so I'm here to apologize for him. Li Zhaokeng's ancestor was granted the title of king with a different surname in his early years, and it was hereditary. Therefore, most people in the world called him king instead of city lord. Hearing the news from Ming's mother, Li Zhaochen knew for sure that Murong Chuking had already run away to catch the thief and take the stolen goods. Unfortunately, he didn't get any evidence from him. Now, naturally, he could only let the Murong family talk nonsense. Several people changed the topic. When Murong Xiang who had been sitting quietly, heard that Murong Chuking's matter was ignored, her clenched palms gradually relaxed. Leng Huishu turned to look at Lily. Come over, a pair of wonderful eyes are full of coldness. Feeling her gaze, Lily also turned her head, and her eyes met Murong Xiang's. When Lily found that she was staring at her, Murong Xiang's expression remained as usual, and even the corners of his mouth slowly turned up, and his face. The two looked at each other with unspeakable contempt and disdain for a long time. Her eyes first flashed with ridicule and deep disgust, and then she frowned again, with a look of contempt on her face. Lily just remained quiet. Staring at her, their movements were quickly noticed by Ming's mother. She seemed to be close to Murong Xiang and said something. Murong Xiang then turned away with a cold expression and stopped staring. Lily looked over here. This meal made everyone in Murong's family uneasy. During the meal, Ming's mother tried to change the topic several times to the marriage between Murong Xiang and Li Zhaoyang, but Li Zhaochen never mentioned it. Whenever she wanted to talk about it, when the topic turned this way, Li Zhaochen didn't answer. Ming's mother felt heavy in her heart. She still didn't understand anything at this time. She knew that the Li family might be a little dissatisfied with this marriage, otherwise they wouldn't be so indifferent to the Murong family. It was related to the reputation of the Murong family, so Murong Fan entrusted Murong Xiang's marriage to her. This was a sign of trust in her, and she really didn't want to disappoint Murong Fan. It's a pity that Murong Fan had something to do and couldn't come this time. Ming's mother was anxious and panicked. She was just a woman, and she was no match for Li Zhaocheng in terms of martial arts strategies and methods. If Murong Xiang's marriage happened in her hands, wrong, even if Murong Fan doted on her again, she would have difficulty gaining a foothold in the Murong family in the future. Ming's mother's eyes fell on Lily, who was sitting next to Li Yangzi, and her lips pursed tightly. On the surface, Li Zhaocheng held the banquet this time to cleanse the Murong family, but the Li family did not mention the marriage that Ming's mother wanted to discuss. When Lily and Li Yangzi were about to leave at the end of the banquet, she and Li Yangzi left the hall. Going down the stone steps in front of the main hall, Li Yangzi showed an impatient look on his face. Before he could speak, Lily was called from behind. Ziahe, are you still blaming your mother for being cruel? With a sad look on her face, Ming's mother slowly walked towards Lily. Her skirt that was pulled to the floor was swaying along the way, and her eyes seemed to be filled with mist. Lily stretched out her hand to push Li Yangzi's chair. Ming's mother looked at Li Yangzi from it passed over her body and soon fell on her daughter's face, as if she was about to cry. Her appearance was indeed endearing. Not only did Murongfan like her, but even the original owner felt sorry for her. Therefore, even though she suffered hardships and was tired in the Murong family, she was never willing to ruin her mother's happiness. She gritted her teeth and endured any hardships. When she came down, Ming's mother didn't know how much her daughter loved her. Lily felt cold in her heart, but the expression on her face was very dull. "Mom, I want to talk to you alone if I have something to say." "Okay." She walked out of the shadows, her body smelling fragrant. Li Yangzi didn't like it. He knew very well the grudges between Lily and Ming's mother. If Li Yangzi was Lily might agree to the real young city master after hearing this, but Li Yangzi was not the original owner, so she was about to refuse. For some reason, Li Yangzi reached out and squeezed her palm, and said softly, "I'll wait for you below." Faster. It's just that he actually wanted to avoid the characters in the mission. Lily was a little surprised and began to wonder if the original owner's wish for this mission was really as simple as she showed. She nodded lightly, and Li Yangzi reached out to push him. When the chair approached the edge of the stone steps, Ming's mother was startled. Just as she was about to open her mouth and scream, she saw that the chair that was supposed to roll down flew directly up and slid down the long steps like a meteor. Finally, he landed firmly on the ground without making any sound. I didn't expect that the young city lord survived the catastrophe, but he was lucky enough to have such amazing internal strength. Seeing this scene, Ming's mother opened her mouth, her expression a little uncertain. She praised, but Lily didn't want to. After greeting her, he stretched out his hand to straighten his hair that was messed up by the night wind, and asked directly, "Is something wrong? Are you still weird?" Ming's mother froze, but she quickly took a step forward. When she saw Lily's hair that was blown straight to her face by the wind, Ming's mother wanted to reach out and lift it away for her. Unexpectedly, Lily took a step back subconsciously. Ming's mother's hand fell free. Somehow, she remembered the scene when she was cutting Murong Xiang'er's hair. A look of sadness quickly appeared on her face, as if she had been touched by Lily. This action was so exciting that I couldn't help but say, "I know you hate me, and you hate me for marrying you to the young city lord, but isn't the young city lord alive now? He is not like the rumors say, he will not live to be 18. What else do you have to complain about?" To be continued. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 739. Ming Bei is not the real daughter of Murong Fan, even if she is from the Murong family and wants to marry the son of the Lord of Xixiao City. She is already in a high position, not to mention that Lily is just Murong Fan's stepdaughter. If it weren't for Murong Fan, she would be where she is today. Life. The young city master is alive and well now, but when you married me to the young city master, he was not what he is today. Lily did not expect that Ming's mother would get excited, and looked at her in surprise, with a very cold attitude. It was only this time that Li Yangzi entered the mission together that she could survive as the young city lord of Xixiao City. Otherwise, the real young city lord would have died long ago. When Ming Bei married into Xixiao City in the plot, that night she was as a widowed woman, a bride who wanted to celebrate her wedding failed to succeed. Ming's mother never considered that. When she saw Li Yangzi alive, Ming's mother seemed to think that she was ungrateful. Lily's expression turned cold. If it weren't for Ming's mother, there may be desires in the mother that the original owner didn't realize. She doesn't even want to waste time with such a woman at the moment. Even so, what can mother do? You fell in love with Mr. Zhao Yang for some reason that day, which made your husband furious. Mother had no way to save you, so she chose this marriage for you. Ming's mother knew that her daughter was resentful. She was a little unhappy when she thought that everyone knew that Ming Bei liked Li Zhaoyang. Ming Bei knew that Li Zhaoyang was Murong Xiang'er's fiancé, but she overestimated her ability and fell in love with him. Mother and son. The position of these people in Murong's family was very awkward. As a widow with 2 children, she was able to marry Murong Fan and receive his protection. She had already attracted public attention. Ming Bei he was ignorant and ended up like this. Ming's mother actually felt resentful in her heart. It sounds like mother has protected me. Lily blurted out these words, with some resentment in them. After she finished speaking, she was stunned for a moment, and Ming's mother was also stunned for a moment. Then he took out a handkerchief from his sleeve and wiped his tears. You really blame me, but what can I do? Your father got into trouble and was killed on behalf of others. The enemy found us, mother and son. You and your brother were still young at that time. If I, a woman, wanted to survive with my 2 children, what else could I do besides marrying Murong Fan? How could it be possible to save the lives of your brother and sister without any support? If you keep the festival for your father, if you don't remarry, the grass on the graves of the 3 of us, mother and son, would be as tall as a person. Ming's mother also had resentment in her heart when she talked about what happened back then. When Ming's father was still alive, he wanted to avenge injustices for others, but he got into trouble at some point. As a result, he was hunted down and killed. He himself died 100 times, but left behind a family. Lots of trouble to come. Recalling the situation in the past when she and her children were being chased and fled in embarrassment. If Murong Fan hadn't led the people to save her in time, my mother and son would have died 5 or 6 years ago. Murong Fan not only saved her life, but was also willing to give her shelter. In the end, he even married her and gave her a place to live. Compared to his previous husband, when he was with him, he was extraordinarily handsome and famous in the world. Also there. But where did the family live a comfortable life at that time? Ming's mother thought of this. Resentment surged up in my heart again. If it weren't for Murong Fan's intervention that day, you would have died. How could it be your turn to blame me now? Lily looked at Ming's mother wiping her tears and had no intention of stepping forward to comfort her. A wave of sadness filled her heart. She suppressed the complicated emotions in her heart and remained silent. Ming's mother just thought that she had convinced her. It was not easy for me to marry Murong Fan. If I hadn't married him, how could I have raised you with good food and drink? Although I have bullied you since I was a child, did I ever deprive you of your food and clothing? This time you get married. Did he escort you personally? He even escorted you on this trip, but he was tricked on the way back. He is still asleep and has not woken up. He was not even able to attend Xiang'er's wedding. What else do you have to complain about? After confirming from Ming's mother that Murong Chuangqing was seriously injured, Lily felt a little relieved for no reason, and she sneered. It's really better to say it than to sing it. He knew exactly how Murong Chuiqing got hurt. He deserves it. When Li Yangzi was sleeping, Murong Chuiqing wanted to assassinate him, but was defeated by Li Zhaoyang. He was injured because he was seeking death. Now Ming's mother pretended to be alive, saying that he was being plotted against her. Lily suddenly became impatient. What's wrong with Murong Xiang'er not having her eldest brother attend the wedding? Isn't your stepmother treating her worse than her biological daughter? Want to like her? When I got married, I didn't even see you or Mingyi as an escort. Now she has made a lot of money from Murong Xiang'er's marriage. Murong Chuking can't give it away by herself. Why are you in such a hurry? You still have the nerve to bother her about Murong Xiang'er's marriage. My eldest brother couldn't attend. What Ming's mother said was really ironic. Lily raised her eyebrows and said, I always thought that my father passed away. Although my mother is married, at least I still have you and Mingyi. Now it seems that it is nothing more than that. I used to think that I was ignorant of the world, but the Murong family also made fun of me. I used to carry the Murong family's bowl, but I also served as Murong's favors punching bag for several years. The Murong family and I will be different from each other in the future. Guangan, I don't want to get involved in the Murong family's affairs. If mother has nothing else to say, it's already getting late and I have to go back. Ming's mother looked at Lily's cold face and felt inexplicable panic in her heart. At this moment, Murong Fanlin's serious instructions and expectant face when she left the house, her own pampered status in the Murong family over the years, and Ming Lily's weak and inferior face in the past. The faces of Ming's mother flashed through her mind one by one, and Ming's mother's face showed a look of struggle. In the end, she still chose her current life. She was already Murong Fan's person, and she could only rely on Murong Fan for the rest of her life. Her daughter, although she was her biological child, she felt distressed, but the water thrown out by her married daughter meant that a woman would still depend on her husband and son for the rest of her life, and it was impossible for her to eat from Li's family. Ming's mother saw Lily turning to leave and quickly stopped her. You said you don't owe Murong Fan, but what do you owe me for the gift of childbirth? How do you calculate it? Speaking of this, Ming's mother had something to ask for, and she had already clearly stated it, and Lily felt very bored. In the past, the original owner had to endure for many years because of such concerns, Ming's mother's kindness in giving birth, and Ming's mother's happiness in the rest of her life. Now Ming Beihe is no longer here. Ming's mother also wanted to use this matter to ask her for help. Lily turned around and frowned. What do you want? Now Prince Li has never mentioned the marriage between Mr. Zhao Yang and your sister Xiang. Why do you tell mother? I hope you can say something good for your sister Xiang. After all, your husband is not good at what he does. Although this it seems that it is not what the rumors say, but there must be a reason for the groundless rumors. From now on, Mr. Zhao Yang should inherit this Zixiao city. You arrange this marriage. In the future, Mr. Zhao Yang will inherit Zixiao, your sister Xiang. It can also give you some light. After all, it was for Murong Xiang. Lily looked at Ming's mother's worried face for Murong Xiang, and didn't know that she really regarded Murong Xiang as her daughter. Although she was worried about her life, she was still afraid that she would not be able to handle this matter properly and go back to make Murong Fan unhappy. She thought that Ming's mother worked so hard for Murong Xiang and even said such lies as Murong Xiang would take care of her in the future. The two Murong brothers and sisters hated Ming, mother and son to the core. Ming Beihe had lived with Murong for several years, but Murong Xiang had never looked at her. Hating her to the point of treating her as an invisible person, Ming's mother actually said that she would shine on her. Lily took a few steps back and looked at the anxious Ming mother and laughed. Mother, do you know why the Li family is so cold towards the Murong family? Do you know how Murong Chuiqing was injured? Ming's mother did not expect that she would ask this question, and shook her head subconsciously. Ming's mother was not stupid. She vaguely guessed the meaning of Lily's words. It seemed that Murong Chuiqing's injury was related to the Li family, as if Zixiao City the Li family's sudden change of attitude seemed to be due to some differences between them and Murong Chuiqing. Ming's mother recalled the scene when Li Zhaocheng asked about Murong Chuiqing during the dinner. I felt a little panicked. Could it be? You care so much about the Murong brothers and sisters. Could it be that Murong Chuiqing even concealed such a thing from you? Giving Ming's mother a sarcastic look, Lily turned around and left. This matter has nothing to do with me. The person you should be looking for is Murong Fan. How come it has nothing to do with you? Even if Chungqing's injury was due to a conflict with the Li family, he only came to Zixiao City to see you off. You. The rest of Ming's mother's words were turned back and glared back by Lily. Unable to speak. Lily really didn't want to say anything more to her at the moment, so she gave her a cold look. A look of struggle appeared on Ming's mother's gorgeous face. After a while, she bit her lip with her teeth and watched Lily gradually leave. At the bottom of the stairs, Li Yangzi sat on a chair and waited for Lily to come down. Seeing that Lily's expression was a little ugly, he stretched out his hand towards her. He had been waiting for a while, and his fingertips were a little cold now. Knowing that he was getting better, there was no way he would, although he was inexplicably lethargic like before. Lily still stretched out her hand to hold him tightly before complaining. "Why did you come down first?" I don't want to say anything to her. Both of them knew in their hearts that Lily was not the original girl who still loved her mother. No matter how pleasant Ming's mother's words were, no one was willing to be the person she deceived. She could coax the sparrows down from the sky with her eloquent mouth, but she couldn't make Lily move at all. "Let you have fun with her first, then the drama will be more exciting later." Li Yangzi turned around and took a look. Ming's mother was looking at him from the high stairs. He curled his lips, and the two of them slowly disappeared. In Ming's mother's sight. Although the current Li family has a dislike for the Murong family because of Murong Chuking's relationship, but since the Murong family has entered the city lord's palace, there is no reason to drive them out anymore. Although the Li family has been reluctant to take action on this marriage, but the Murong family didn't know if they had sensed something was wrong. After Murong Xiang'er and his party lived in Xixiao City for half a month, the Murong family began to post hero posts widely, inviting heroes from all over the world to Xixiao City to participate in this game. At the grand meeting, the head of the Murong family also announced that once he is finished with his work in a month, he will rush to Xixiao City to attend his daughter's wedding. This is equivalent to putting Xixiao City on hold. The marriage was already a sensation in the martial arts world when it was decided on that day. Li Ziyang's name was known to everyone in the world. The Murong family had settled in Jiangnan for many years. Murong Fan was also very famous. Murong Xiang'er was even more beautiful. In the eyes of fellow martial artists, it was a match made in heaven. At this time, the Li family had the intention of going back on their word, but comrades from all the major martial arts circles came to attend the wedding of the two families with gifts from their respective sects, but they were already riding a tiger. The more aggressive the Murong family became, the more disgusted Li Zhaocheng was towards this marriage. A group of people led by Ming's mother stayed in the city. Every day, the servants of Xixiao City treated them very coldly. Ming's mother listened to the rumors outside. Feeling uneasy in their hearts, people from all over the world went to Xixiao City to congratulate Li. Although Li Zhaocheng wanted to greet guests, he never mentioned the marriage. This made Ming's mother faintly worried. She wanted to discuss it with Mrs. Li several times. It is a pity that Mrs. Li announced her retreat after Murong Xiang'er arrived in Xixiao City a few days after Li Yangzi's health improved. Mrs. Li's attitude undoubtedly made Ming's mother even more worried. Li Zhaoyang wanted to get married, but Mrs. Li, the wife of the city lord, had no intention of helping with the marriage at this juncture. On the contrary, if she is imprisoned, she may not be able to come out in 2 or 3 years. Either she has no intention of attending her brother-in-law's wedding, or Mrs. Li intends to take a procrastinating attitude towards the marriage. Now that all the martial arts comrades in the world are here, if the Li family repented at this time, even if the Li family would be infamous all over the world, Murong Xiang'er's life would be ruined. Ming's mother was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot. She was arranged by the servants of Xixiao City to live in the city lord's mansion, but every day was like being in jail. It was not easy to get in and out. Not to mention that Li Zhaocheng could not be seen easily. It was not easy for her to even meet Li Zhaoyang. Ming's mother originally wanted to meet brother Li Zhaocheng through Lily to discuss the wedding. But after talking to Lily last time, the two mothers and daughters almost fell out. Now Lily doesn't even see her at all. She asked the servants of Xixiao City to help deliver the message. I don't know if they have done it for her. The message was passed on, but in short, the information was lost, and there was no reply at all. The servants of the Murong family were sent, and Lily was not even able to see her face. Ming's mother left the Murong family for a while and was unable to do anything. My heart was also a little clogged. She couldn't eat or sleep well every day. The people in Xixiao City didn't treat her badly, and the food was exquisite. But under such circumstances, Ming's mother was unsure. How could she swallow the delicacies of mountains and seas? Go on for half a month. Her originally beautiful face gradually became a little haggard, and the color of her originally radiant face became a bit darker. There is a bit of green shadow under the eyes. Mom, I haven't been able to eat or sleep well lately, but for Xiang'er's marriage, seeing Ming's mother's discomfort in the past few days, Ming also endured it for a few days, and finally couldn't bear it anymore. He was born half a quarter of an hour earlier than Ming Lily, and he is only 16 this year, but he has a mature look. He was deeply influenced by Ming's mother. When he was young, his father lost his father and he stayed in the care of Murong's family, which developed his character of being quiet and cautious. He was different from Ming Bei, who was timid and cowardly. Because he was a boy, Murong Fan raised him as his son's right-hand man, so he was considerate of him. He seriously asked someone to teach him martial arts for several years, although he did not personally teach him. His teaching, Ming, and his martial arts skills were quite good. Because of this, he was quite grateful to the Murong family, but he was also dissatisfied with his sister. He believed that the mother and son owed the Murong family a lot in the past. Ming Lily showed a sense of bitterness and hatred, and he looked down upon her in his heart. The two brothers and sisters had different ways and did not work together, so he knew that Ming Lily had been tortured in the past. Murong favored whipping, but Ming also looked at her expression as if she was suffering, and sometimes felt that she was ungrateful. In addition, he also knew the identities of the two siblings, and was deeply afraid that his actions would cause trouble for his mother. Over time, after seeing Lily's timid appearance, he naturally looked down on her more and more. On the contrary, he had a deep love for the noble eldest daughter of the Murong family, but Ming Yi also knew that he was not worthy of Murong Xiang'er at all. Not to mention, his mother came to the house that day and pissed off his sweetheart's mother, Murong Xiang. It was impossible for his son to like him, so Ming Yujian suppressed his affection and only dared to look at the young lady silently. After Li Zhaoyang and Murong Xiang'er's marriage was finalized, he was sad for a while, but he always knew in his heart that he was not good enough for Murong Xiang'er, so he didn't feel too disappointed. He just knew that Lily was rumored to like Li Zhaoyang. At that time, because he didn't like his sister and was too protective of Murong Xiang'er, he also thought that her sister was shameless, and the relationship between the two brothers and sisters became even more tense. So that on the day Lily was sent to Xixiao City by Murong's family to celebrate, he not only did not stop her, but actually he didn't send her to Xixiao City. After entering the city this time, Ming's mother had visited Lily several times, but he never thought of meeting Lily in private. Firstly, the relationship between the two brothers and sister was weak and they had nothing to say. It can be said that, secondly, it is true that Minji also dislikes Lily as a person. It's just that the situation is different now. Seeing that his mother is working hard and worrying about Xiang'er, Ming Yujian feels sorry for Murong Xiang'er's current embarrassing situation. Although Ming Yujia is secretly happy if the marriage between the two families does not work out, but seeing Murong Xiang when his son became more and more silent, he thought for a while and took the initiative to find Ming's mother and put forward his thoughts. Ming Bei has forgotten the great favor given by her uncle in the past. Now Xiang'er needs her help, but she avoids him. I want to meet her in person and ask her what she means. When he said this, there was a hint of coldness in Ming Yujian's tone, and he had just finished speaking. Ming's mother hesitated for a moment. She knew what her son meant. What he said about meeting Lily in person was definitely not a normal message. She must have forced her way in. She forcefully gave her daughter medicine to marry into the Li family that day. Ming's mother also knew that this move hurt her daughter's heart. Lily was very cold to her that day, and there was no longer the closeness she had before. Now her son, if you want to force your way in, you are not in the Murong family. All the servants of the Li family are good at martial arts. Her son was young and illiterate. Although Murong Fan taught him martial arts for several years, because his surname was not Murong, he did not learn the unique skills of the Murong family. Ming's mother had been pampered and put down martial arts in the past few years, but he lived with his late husband through life and death, and his eyesight is still more or less there. Lily doesn't have a good impression of the Murong family now. The two brothers and sisters have never been close to each other. If Ming Yujian rushes in so aggressively, he may suffer a loss. She had to know that Yi Jian had such a son. Although she would have to rely on her husband to dote on her in the future, he would be the one she could rely on for the rest of her life. What's more, what Lily said that night was that the reason why the Li family wanted to go back on their word might be related to Murong Chuking's injury. She didn't tell her son about this. She couldn't figure out the stakes, and she didn't want her son to rush in recklessly. Ming's mother thought about it for a while but didn't have time to nod. Murong Xiang'er's cold voice rang out. Since you can't bear it, don't go. She was wearing a Xiangfei-colored dress, with a somewhat cold and bored look on her face. As soon as Ming's mother heard her voice, she stood up instinctively. A flattering smile appeared on her face, and she looked back to see Murong Xiang'er leaning against the door of the inner room. With a contemptuous expression, he hurriedly leaned over and whispered, "It's not that I'm reluctant, how could I not want to handle the things your father assigned me well? I've always treated you as my own daughter." Ming's mother's flattery did not please Murong Xiang'er. When she heard this, she just laughed coldly and interrupted Ming's mother. "I only had one mother, and she died before you came here 6 years ago. Because of Mrs. Murong's death, no matter how Ming's mother tried to please her over the years, Murong Xiang'er remained unmoved. Now Ming's mother was slapped in the face by Murong Xiang'er. She felt bitter in her heart but dared not speak. She swallowed her anger and pretended to be someone else. "I didn't hear what she said before. The most urgent thing is to complete the marriage between you and Mr. Zhao Yang. I asked someone to find out. Your father will be heading to Xixiao City in as little as 1 month or as soon as 10 days. Come, just wait peacefully." As soon as Ming Yujian saw her coming out, his eyes fell on Murong Xiang'er and could not move away. He didn't even listen to what the two people said. He just stared at Murong Xiang'er dreamingly. "You yourself know best what you are thinking. I don't care whether it is for the marriage between me and Mr. Zhao Yang. You two, mother and daughter, are just ordinary. The old one wants to steal someone's husband, and now he has fallen into this. You have a daughter, and you have the same virtues, as if you only stare at other people's men. Whether you are deliberately delaying for your daughter will be clear when my father comes. Don't say anything hypocritical in front of me. It's for my own good. If I believe these nonsense, I'm afraid I will follow in the footsteps of my mother, who doesn't even know how she died." Murong Xiang'er's voice was cold and soft when she spoke, but the words that came out of her mouth were extremely mean, which made Ming's mother understand. Her face turned red, but Wei Wei could not utter a word to refute. "Uncle Guan of the Nanhaiguan family, I sent a gift to Xixiao City. The city lord has sent someone to hold a banquet for the reception. Biluo came to wait on me to wash up. I will attend in person in the evening to see what the Li family is going to do." Murong Xiang, after the son finished sarcastic about Ming's mother, he didn't even look at the beauty with pale and blue complexion. He coldly called his personal maid to go in and wait on her. Before leaving, he didn't even look back. "Is it because of your family named Ming? Just like my mother moved a nest for you, now you are probably thinking of ruining this marriage and want me to move a nest for your daughter." To be continued. Carrot. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 740. I didn't. Tears welled up in Ming's mother's eyes. She had offended Lily for this matter, and had become a human being inside and outside. She still dared not say that Murong Chewiking's injury was related to this matter. She was afraid that Murong Xiang'er would blame her, but now Murong Xiang'er didn't leave any dignity for her in front of the servants. She looked beautiful on the outside, but she was really tired in her heart. Although Murong Fan doted on her, but she lived cautiously in Murong's house. Lily didn't know how to understand her as a mother at all. She always thought that she was just partial. She didn't understand her suffering. Ming's mother thought of this and saw Murong Xiang'er entering the room. I couldn't help but cry sadly. Ming Yujian silently handed the handkerchief to Ming's mother. Ming's mother cried twice, her eyes were red, but she still kept her spirits up and went into the house to wait on Murong Xiang'er. Thinking of how her daughter would be extremely happy if she asked Ming Lily a few more words in the past, and then looking at the cold reception she received in front of Murong Xiang'er now, Ming's mother also felt a little sad in her heart, but this thought was she quickly endured it. She didn't want to live the same life as before with her children and being hunted by others. The Murong family could stabilize her. Since she chose this path, she had no way out. Today, Uncle Guan from the Nanhaiguan family came to Xixiao City with a congratulatory gift to congratulate Li Xiaoyang and Murong Xiang'er on their upcoming grand wedding. The Guan family is famous for manufacturing machinery and equipment, and the weapons made by the Guan family are rare in the world. Uncle Guan, I am the master uncle of the Guan family. I have been famous for many years. This time he came personally to send gifts, which shows that the Guan family attaches great importance to Xixiao City. When Li Yangzi woke up from his drowsiness, his legs were unable to walk. Li Zhaocheng also asked the Guan family to buy a sliding machine chair, which was made by Uncle Guan himself. In order to buy this thing from the Guan family, Li Zhaocheng also owed the Guan family a promise. In order to build momentum for his daughter, Murong Fan even alerted the Nangguan family, knowing that the Guan family came all the way to drink the wedding wine carrying gifts. Li Zhaocheng was filled with anger and hatred. If this marriage had not had the twists and turns that Murong Chuiqing had on that day, perhaps Li Zhaocheng would be very happy now that the martial arts comrades from all over the world are congratulating Li Xiaoyang. However, because of Murong Chuiqing's assassination of his son, now that Murong Fan has made such a big fuss, it is inevitable that Li Zhaocheng will think he felt more and more that the Murong family was scheming, and he was even more resistant to this marriage, but his dislike for Murong Xiang'er had reached its highest point at this time. But the Guan family was kind to the Li family after all, so Uncle Guan came to visit in person. Li Zhaocheng still held a banquet in the palace and invited his son to attend, intending to express his gratitude to Uncle Guan for the chair. In addition to greeting the Guan family, people from the Tianshan sect also came, except for MRSLI. The Li brothers and Lily and his wife were all here. This time, the gift sent to Li Xiaoyang by the Guan family was an ancient sword named Qinglian. This sword was not originally a famous brand. When I was young, Uncle Guan traveled all over the world and once lived in a cold pond. He got this sword by chance, and after refining it from the ore at the bottom of the cold pool, he repaired the broken sword for many years, and it became very sharp. The most rare thing is that the sword body is made of cold iron, and the body of the sword is green. Once it is drawn out, glowing with cyan cold light. When dancing, the blade of the sword seems to bloom with clusters of green lotuses. That's why it was named. In order to show the sword to the palace, the banquet was held not in the palace, but in the square outside the palace. Guan Shaowo drew out the sword. A chilling air spread out, and the sword intent could be felt even from a great distance. The expressions of the two brothers from the Li family changed. Even if the uncle and nephew of the two masters of the Tianshan sect were not skilled in swordsmanship, they could still tell that this long sword was different. Uncle Guan took the long sword in his hand and played with it. This time Zhao Mr. Yang is about to get married, and Mr. Guan is here to congratulate him. Li Xiaoyang was originally obsessed with swordsmanship, and Li Jiabe Minjui was originally a yin and cold person. Li Xiaoyang liked this gift very much, so his expressionless face rarely showed a smile. He stood up to pick up the sword. There was a sound of arguing in the distance. The sound was very far away, but everyone here was a person with extraordinary internal strength, so they could still hear it clearly. Li Xiaoyang took the long sword and touched it lovingly. Li Xiaokeng's face, his smile froze for a moment, and a servant took the opportunity to pour wine and whispered in his ear. His eyes flashed, but before he could speak, Murong Xiang'er's voice shouted. I learned today that Senior Nan Haiguan has arrived in Zixiao City. My father admired Senior Guan very much and hoped to meet him. This dust-cleansing banquet was held for the Guan family. The people from the Guan family were originally here to congratulate Murong Xiang'er and Li Xiaoyang. It was a wedding, but no one from the Murong family was invited to attend. Murong Xiang'er shouted and everyone looked at each other. Li Xiaocheng endured his anger and signaled for someone to bring the Murong family over. When Murong Xiang'er came with Ming's mother and a group of maids and wives, he saw Lily sitting next to Li Yangzi at a glance, and anger suddenly welled up in his heart. In the past, Ming Lily's status in Murong's family was so low, but now after getting married, she was turned upside down. If she wanted to attend such a grand gathering, she would have to make a scene that was inappropriate and noisy to attract everyone's attention, but she was already sitting at the banquet early in the morning. Murong Xiang'er looked at Lily as if he wanted to eat someone. Lily rolled her eyes, raised the corners of her mouth and sneered. Xiang'er is late. I apologize to you all. Murong Xiang'er had just arrived in a panic, but now she quickly returned to her normal demeanor. She bowed to everyone in advance. There were no desks from the Murong family in the venue. The servants were just preparing to move things. Murong Xiang'er had no place to sit for a while, and saw Li Xiaoyang standing in the middle of the field, holding an ancient sword in his hand, and his plain clothes were blown away by the wind. Shaking, his expression was as cold as a banished immortal. He kept his eyes on the ancient sword and did not look at Murong Xiang'er, but Murong Xiang'er walked straight towards him and smiled. Congratulations to Master Xiaoyang for getting a good sword, a BMW with a good saddle, and a famous sword with a good scholar. The master's demeanor is really heartbreaking. Xiang'er is so lucky to be able to stay with the master in the future. I don't know how many people in the world are envious of him. Xiang'er, Sister Lily, are you right? This time the Guan family came specially to give gifts to congratulate Li Xiaoyang. Murong Xiang'er had already found out. At this time, I saw Uncle Guan standing next to Li Xiaoyang. Li Xiaoyang was holding a long sword in his hand and looked fond of it. Murong Xiang'er could guess Guan. The gift from her family should be this long sword. Murong Xiang'er started talking to Li Xiaoyang. Li Xiaoyang ignored her and didn't even look at her. However, she seemed to not feel the embarrassment at all and said to herself. After finishing, he turned to look at Lily again, and the conversation changed to Lily. Lily raised her eyebrows. When she heard Murong Xiang'er's words, she knew what Murong Xiang'er wanted to do. She has been suppressed by Li Xiaocheng recently, and she has not been able to attend such events, which shows that the Li family does not pay attention to her. If she wants to quickly win the attention of everyone present, she must do something to attract everyone's attention to her, otherwise it will be later. As soon as the servants brought the desk, she would be immediately taken aside to sit down, and there would be no chance for her to speak. After being able to attract everyone's attention by making noise once, Li Xiaocheng would not give her a second chance to appear in the same way. The Li family's attitude towards this marriage is ambiguous now. Murong Xiang'er is also anxious. Murong Fan has not come for a long time. In her heart she didn't trust Mingyi and mother and son, so she could only rely on herself. It's just that this move is too mean. If Beihe praises her, she will definitely tell her that Ming Beihe liked Li Xiaoyang that day. Now that Beihe has married Li Yangzi, if this matter is mentioned in public, it will be a scandal. In name only, Ming Beihe, although she is from the Murong family, she is not the only daughter of Murong Fan. Her loss of ugliness has no impact on Murong Xiang'er's reputation. On the contrary, this move will attract everyone's attention to Murong Xiang'er and successfully make the Li family hate Lily. Feeling coming. And if Lily doesn't praise, she marries into the Li family but refuses to praise the people of the Li family. This will inevitably make people wonder whether her attitude represents Li Yangzi. After all, the Li family's situation is special. The young city lord was deemed not to live for 10 years. 8. Everyone thinks that the next heir to the lord of Zixiao City is Li Zhaoyang. Now Li Yangzi is alive, just because he has just recovered, plus Li Ziyang's wedding happened again, and the inheritance of Zixiao City is because of Li Zhaocheng. Now in the prime of life, no one dared to mention it. Murong Xiang'er put Lily at the forefront of the storm with one sentence, and everyone's attention subconsciously fell on Lily. In a short period of time, Murong Xiang'er was able to put Lily in such a position with just one sentence. She hadn't encountered such a smart person in the mission for a long time. Lily couldn't help but laugh. If she were a truly innocent girl, she might panic when encountering such a situation. After all, she was in a dilemma. But for her, her heart was spinning several times at this time, but her face was extremely calm. She had to praise Li Zhaoyang. Li Zhaocheng would not allow the Li family to appear at such a juncture. Civil strife, for Li Zhaocheng, his younger brother and son, the palms and backs of his hands were full of flesh. Li Zhaoyang was raised by him personally, just like his other son. Lily picked up the cup in a leisurely manner, took a sip and put it down again, seeing everyone's gaze. It was all on her, and she laughed. Sister Xiang'er is right. My uncle has outstanding charm and brilliance like the sun and the moon. She did not mention Murong Xiang'er, but compared Li Zhaoyang to the sun and the moon. Murong Xiang'er just boasted that he was standing next to Li Zhaoyang, and the moon was surrounded by stars. Lily stabbed Murong Xiang'er once, the smile on her face faltered, but soon a sinister look flashed in her eyes. Young master is so outstanding. I knew Lily was one of the people attracted to young master, so, even in my dreams, I couldn't help but call out the young master's name, which shows his elegant demeanor. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone in the square looked a little embarrassed. The people of the Guan family frowned and noticed something was wrong. Li Zhaocheng's face was ashen, which was the cold face of Li Zhaoyang, who was so happy in Chang Jian's heart. She also showed a bit of displeasure, but Murong Xiang'er seemed not to notice what everyone was thinking at all. She turned her head and glanced at Ming's mother. Aunt Ming, do you think I am right? To be continued, Carrot. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan ERWR. Chapter 741. There was a faint smile on the corner of Murong Xiang'er's mouth. She knew that Ming's mother was not named Ming, but in recent years, when there were occasional important occasions when she needed to call Ming's mother, she deliberately called her mother and husband's surname. At this time, Murong Xiang'er Ming was slapped in the face, and Ming's mother was in a dilemma. On one side was her biological daughter, and on the other was Murong Fan, who had taken in and helped her. She felt like heaven and earth were at war. After a while, she gritted her teeth, not daring to look at her daughter's face. Nodded with some difficulty. Seeing Ming's mother nodding, the people around were speechless. When Murong Fan married Ming's mother, he had invited heroes from all over the world to come. Ming's mother was also the most beautiful woman in the world when she was young. She had a great reputation. Her origin and identity are unknown to everyone. They all knew it in their hearts and knew that Lily was her biological daughter, but when they saw what Ming's mother had done, the Tianshan sect and the Guan family looked at each other. Their expressions were a little ugly because they were involved in other people's family affairs. Back then, when Ming Bei was young, it was normal for her to fall in love with Mr. Ziyang's unparalleled elegance. Now that she is married, she will have to live peacefully with Mr. Li in the future. The corners of Murong Xiang'er's mouth curled up, and her eyes showed arrogance and sarcasm. Taught Lily a few words in a serious tone. Before she could finish speaking, Lily interrupted her. My husband and I were destined to be together. I was helped by my uncle when I was in trouble that day. From then on, I kept the kindness in my heart and never forgot it. Later, I was lucky enough to marry into the Lee family. Because my husband was unwell, I never had time to thank my uncle for that kindness. The helping hand is really undeserved. Lily stood up and saluted Li Xiaoyang from a distance. When he heard this, his originally cold face showed a bit of relief, and nodded to Lily. His expression was still a little confused, and he obviously couldn't remember any favor he had done to Ming Lily in the past. Li Xiaochen was originally afraid that Murong Xiang'er would say something ugly, but now he felt relieved when he heard Lily's explanation. He secretly hated Murong Xiang'er for speaking regardless of the occasion, with a look of anger on his face, but Murong Xiang'er didn't wait for him to speak and said quickly. It's good for you to think so. Who has never been young and confused? That day you called out the name of Mr. Xiaoyang in your dream. I also know that you are young and uncertain. How could Murong Xiang'er let Lily know? To wrap things up, today she wanted to force the Li family to face up to her existence and settle the marriage between herself and Li Xiaoyang before her father came. At this time, Murong Xiang'er already hated Beihe to the bone, and the Li family and the Murong family. The Li family's attitude towards the originally planned marriage had changed for no apparent reason, which had to make Murong Xiang'er wonder if Lily had done something to it. She originally didn't like Ming's mother and her two children. When it was revealed that Ming Lily liked Li Xiaoyang, Murong Xiang'er hated her very much. Now she naturally didn't leave any room for words. What does Miss Murong mean by this? Could it be that I have ulterior motives towards my uncle? The more she spoke, the more explicit she became. Everyone in the square looked embarrassed. Lily looked at Murong Xiang'er's look and interrupted her again. In the past, Ming Beihe was weak and timid, but at that time she was struggling to survive under Murong Chuang's long whip. She didn't dare to raise her head when looking at people. She lived like a worm in the Murong family. When did she dare to question herself like this? Murong Xiang'er was furious and glared at her coldly, but Lily didn't blink. Unable to avoid staring at her, Murong Xiang'er's hatred for her mother's death over the years and the disgust that Ming Beihe dared to fall in love with her fiancé came to her heart. Then when Lily's gaze provoked her, Murong Xiang'er raised her chin and couldn't stand it anymore. I can't be as generous and tolerant as before? He asked coldly. Is not it? Li Yangzi moved his fingers. Lily saw it clearly and caught his hand. Suddenly she straightened her sleeves and sat down. She looked at Murong Xiang'er and smiled. According to what Miss Murong means. Could it be that if Miss Murong dreamed of Hero Murong, she could not help but call out Dad? Does Miss Murong also have any thoughts about your father who is afraid to meet people? Murong Xiang'er was furious when she heard this. Before she could speak, Ming's mother, who was standing behind her, started to panic. Lily, don't talk nonsense. Apologize to your sister Xiang'er quickly. When Murong Xiang'er wanted to smear her reputation just now, Ming's mother remained silent and even nodded when Murong Xiang'er talked nonsense. Now she just said a few words in return to Murong Xiang'er, but Ming's mother anxiously asked her to apologize. Lily sneered, and now she didn't even want to look at Ming's mother's face. Li Zhaokeng's expression darkened. Absurd, this junior is ignorant and dares to speak arrogant words in front of several seniors. Originally, it was just because of Murong Chuiking's assassination of Li Yangzi that Li Zhaochen was dissatisfied with the originally arranged marriage between the two families, but now Murong Xiang'er barged in and stirred up trouble. If it was private, forget it. Saying such a thing in public is tantamount to smearing the reputation of the Li family. No matter how well educated Li Zhaochen is, he can't help but feel murderous at this moment. Send Miss Murong back to her room. Murong Xiang'er was still a little reluctant when she was invited out, but now Li Zhaochen would not give her a chance to speak, so he immediately had her escorted back to have a good reception and cleansing banquet. Naturally, everyone was attracted by this incident. They broke up unhappy. The Guan family members excused themselves from running around for days and were tired and left first. The Tianshan sect people also left one after another. The Li family members were left behind. Li Zhaocheng looked at Lily with a somewhat unkind expression. The Murong family was anxious to take care of Lily that day. The people in Zixiao City did not find out the detailed story of the stepdaughter's marriage. At that time, his only son was seriously ill and was not going to die soon. Li Zhaocheng only wanted someone to marry into the Li family for happiness, so how could he take care of Bei He? He had caused some trouble before, until he heard these reasons from Murong Xiang'er's mouth. Although the matter had passed, his daughter-in-law once liked his younger brother, and he looked extremely ugly when he thought about it. Lily didn't wait for him to ask questions, and then told her that after she married into the Murong family with Ming's mother, she was favored and beaten by Murong for many years. She also told that Li Zhaoyang had tortured her when he went to Murong's family to hire Murong Xiang'er that day. After receiving a helping hand, Ming Lily's love for Li Zhaoyang was naturally hidden in her heart. Now she has nothing to do with Li Zhaoyang. So what if Ming Lily liked Li Zhaoyang in the past? There is no evidence, it is not just speculation. I am grateful for my uncle's help. I have never dared to forget this kindness. Maybe there was some misunderstanding. Li Zhaocheng turned to look at Li Zhaoyang. A look of confusion appeared on his face at first, and then he nodded hesitantly after a long time. Apparently he remembered something, and after confirming such a thing, Li Zhaocheng's expression gradually softened. I know this matter well, but Miss Murong has wasted her reputation in vain. I didn't expect that she would make such a dispute. I mistakenly believed the rumors that day. If I marry this woman and enter the family, my family will be uneasy in the future. Speaking of this, Li Zhaocheng's eyes showing a bit of sternness. Junior is really bullying people too much. Zhaoyang, I think this girl Murong is not a good match for you. If you have no intention of her, the elder brother will find a way to push this marriage off. Murong Xiang'er's actions today had the opposite effect, which made him. Li Zhaocheng felt disgusted with her, and Li Zhaoyang was only immersed in swordsmanship. This time, there was no stain in the plot that Ming Bei accidentally had a relationship with him. Naturally, he did not feel guilty towards Murong Xiang'er as in the plot, let alone go on whatever you like. Compared to getting married and marrying a wife, Li Zhaoyang actually preferred the long sword sent by the Guan family today. As soon as Li Zhaocheng finished speaking, he nodded, acquiescing to Li Zhaocheng's suggestion. When Murong Xiang'er was so angry that she was half carried and half sent back to her room by the servants of the Li family, she was so angry that she wanted to imitate Murong's favor. She pulled out a long whip and beat everything in front of her to pieces. Ming's mother was a little flattered. She smiled in front of her. Lily is a little confused today. Don't be angry, miss, I will go find her later. Let her apologize to miss. You, the Ming family, are all shameless. Whatever dirty thoughts you have hidden in your heart, your daughter will use the same thoughts to speculate on others. I don't want to see your face, get out of here, Murong Xiang'er. I got angry today. Ming's mother's comfort did not make her feel any better, but instead made the fire in her heart burn even more intensely. Her expression was cold, but when she spoke, she was like a steel knife scraping bones. It showed that Ming's mother's face was red, her ears were red, and her eye circles were a little astringent. She was Murong Xiang'er's nominal elder after all, and she was living in a less dignified manner than a girl at this time. Just when he was feeling a little uncomfortable, a servant from outside came to convey Li Zhaoyang's order, saying that the city lord had asked Mr. Yin, a fortune teller from Tianshan Mountain, to perform a divination. Due to Li Yangzi's incident, it was not suitable for Li Zhaoyang to get married this year. Murong's marriage to the Li family was put on hold for the time being. Li Zhaocheng prepared a generous gift and wanted to personally send Murong Xiang'er back to Murong's home to apologize to Murong Fan. Nominally, this year is not suitable for getting married, but any fool can see the Li family's attitude of wanting to go back on their word. If they fail to marry Li Zhaoyang this time, I'm afraid it will be difficult to marry him again in the rest of their lives. Now that she has automatically been sent to Xixiao City, the Li family wants to send her back. People in the martial arts world don't know how to criticize her behind their backs. In the name of Li Ziyang's fiancé, who else will dare to propose marriage to her again in the future? What's more, thinking that Li Ziyang's indifferent and handsome face should have belonged to her husband. She should be envied by people in the martial arts world, but now he was getting farther and farther away from her. Murong Xiang'er felt resentful in his heart and was so blocked that he could not speak. After all, it was the Li family who first proposed the marriage to the Murong family that day. Now the Li family has already thought about ruining the marriage. Even if this matter is caused by Murong Chuking's assassination, the Li family is upset, but the world's heroes don't know this. After all, they would only accuse the Li family of bullying others, so Li Zhaocheng was still planning to take his younger brother to Murong's house in person to apologize to Murong Fan. Mrs. Li had gone into seclusion half a month ago, and Li Zhaocheng had to leave the trivial matters in the city to his son. Since Murong Xiang'er dared to talk nonsense in front of everyone that day, Li Zhaocheng did not delay. Since he decided that he did not want to continue the marriage, he asked someone to tidy up the next day and took some Xixiao City specialties, a few rare treasures and a large amount of gold and silver as apology gifts, and set out on the road. Murong Xiang'er was still a little unwilling, but now that the matter was over, the Li brothers had made up their minds. No matter how dissatisfied she was, she had no choice but to be put on the carriage. The heroes of the world originally came to the city to ask for a wedding drink from Li Zhaoyang and join in the fun, but unexpectedly something like this suddenly happened. Many people who wanted to watch the fun followed the carriage where the Li brothers sent Murong Xiang'er off. Originally, in the overcrowded Xixiao city, most of the people were gone in half a day, and the usual peace returned. Here, Li Zhaocheng and his party had been walking for less than half a day, and the sun had just climbed out. Murong Xiang'er sent someone to tell them that they were too tired and wanted to stop and rest. The Murong family was far away in the south, and the Li family was nearby. Chui, the two sides were already far apart. Murong Xiang'er always found opportunities to slow down the group of people on the way, and now they walked for a while. It was not far from Xixiao City. Li Zhaocheng felt unhappy. Just as he was about to speak, the disciple who was exploring the way came back. The expression is a bit ugly. City Lord, something is wrong. I don't know why Li Zhaocheng always felt a little uneasy when he got up this morning. When he heard the disciple's report, he quickly asked, "Is there anyone in front of you?" This time, he wanted to apologize to the Murong family. In addition to some rare treasures and a large amount of gold and silver, Li Zhaocheng's most valuable item was a piece of soft armor woven from silkworm silk, which was waterproof, fireproof, and swordproof. It was no surprise, but the disciple shook his head and whispered. The disciple discovered that Wu Shui was traveling upstream on the river bank and was intercepted by someone. When Xixiao City was first built, it was a Feng Shui master who studied Feng Shui. Half of the city is not far from Tianshan Mountain. A Wu River winds around the edge of the city to form a natural defense fortress. If there is a large-scale attack by the army, they will first have to face the crisis of crossing the river. Li Zhaocheng started hearing that Wu Shui was intercepted by someone. He didn't realize it until he went to check it out in person. Shocked. At some point, someone dug out another river channel in the upper reaches of the Wu River. From a height, the direction of the river channel points directly to Xixiao City. Most of the original river channel has been filled in, leaving only a small gap. Because there was still water flowing downwards, The people in Xixiao City just thought that the lack of rain recently caused the river to dry up, and no one noticed anything strange. And the newly dug river channel has been filled with water at this time. The water source in the upper reaches of Wu River should be blocked. If the people who do this behind the scenes release the gate, then someone destroyed the thin river dam that blocked the water. At that time, the water of Wu River will probably rush straight down and destroy the entire Xixiao city. I don't know who came up with this sinister idea. It seemed that it had been under construction for a while. Li Zhaocheng felt angry at this time. He originally hated Murong Xiang'er for deliberately delaying time, and was impatient with sending her back to Murong's house. At this time, I felt lucky. Fortunately, Murong Xiang'er delayed his time today so that he was not far from Xixiao City. Otherwise, if he had been far away from Xixiao City, it would have taken him half a month to get to Murong's house. Once something happened in Xixiao City, whatever happened, countless disciples in the city were killed or injured. The most important thing is that since the person behind it set up such a poisonous plan, it might be detrimental to his wife and children. When the time comes, he will have no strength at all, but there is nothing he can do. He immediately made a decision and wanted to rush to Xixiao City to evacuate the people, hoping that it was still too late. At this moment, he could not take care of Murong Xiang'er anymore, turned around to greet Li Zhaoyang and Li Zhaoyang to cheer him up, and turned back when he came. What's going on? As soon as the two people left, Murong Xiang'er asked to rest for a whole day but was not allowed. At this time, there was no movement outside. She couldn't help but call someone to ask. The Murong family just hearing the disciples from Xixiao City coming to reply with ugly faces, brother Li Zhaoyang left in a hurry, not even paying attention to Murong Xiang'er. When he heard her question, the servant hesitated and said, "It seems to be Xixiao City there was an accident." Murong Xiang'er originally didn't want to leave and wanted to take the opportunity to stay. When she heard this, she was overjoyed and hurriedly ordered someone to return to Xixiao City. As soon as the Li brothers left, the Murong family naturally listened to her words. The convoy turned back to Xixiao City. At this moment, Li Zhaocheng was very anxious. As soon as he left, as the heroes of the world followed him, the city suddenly became deserted. Li Yangzi no longer had to follow him to practice martial arts, so Lily naturally stayed with him. There was something wrong with the atmosphere today, Lily felt it instinctively. The courtyard was eerily quiet, and in the palace of the city lord of Nyoda, it was as if someone could hear the echo even if she spoke. Li Yangzi has begun to feel sensation in his legs recently, but he is still unable to stand up as he wants. He is not panicking, knowing that this situation is only temporary. Instead, he focuses on stabilizing his strength. As soon as brother Li Zhaocheng leaves, he's sitting on a chair quietly reading a book. Lily practiced physical training beside him. The servants had been sent away long ago, and even the shadows protecting Li Yangzi were ordered to stay away from him. There was a feeling of storm coming over Xiaocheng. Lily made a set of moves, always feeling uneasy, as if something was about to happen. She made a mistake several times in a set of moves, but Li Yangzi reminded her to pay attention. "Come over." The spiritual energy did not flow into her body, and there was a fishy smell all around. As soon as she was distracted, the spiritual energy that had gathered around her due to her movements suddenly dispersed, and her eyes kept falling. Li Yangzi did not raise his head from the book, but nodded slightly with his fingertips. A soft stream of air burst out from his fingertips and hit the frowning Lily. Lily subconsciously turned her head to avoid it, and looked to remind her. Li Yangzi glanced at him, stretched out his hand to brush his hair, and thought for a while. "I stopped practicing. I always feel like something is wrong." As soon as she finished speaking, Li Yangzi turned a page of the book on his lap and said without raising his head, "Someone is here." The people he meant were not people from the city lord's palace. Even though Li Yangzi looked normal, he reminded him that there must be something wrong with the people who came. Lily shouted. A Xiao is a confidant shadow guard trained by Li Zhaocheng. He has been protecting Li Yangzi. After Li Yangzi regained consciousness, Li Zhaocheng gave him control of this team of shadow guards because of the different relationship between Lily and Li Yangzi. She also knew about this team of secret guards. A Xiao was the leader of this team of secret guards. At this moment, people were already approaching. Li Yangzi felt it, but A Xiao did not report the news. As soon as Lily's voice fell, a light voice, the soft laughter rang out. A Xiao. Is this it? The voice sounded familiar and had a cruel meaning. Lily shuddered instinctively. Before she had time to think about it, a grey shadow quickly rushed over from the city wall. With the force of thunder, he bumped into Li Yangzi as soon as he came. Lily subconsciously wanted to get closer to Li Yangzi, but he raised his hand that was turning the book and made a pause gesture. Before the shadow hit him, on his body, he pushed the chair back with one hand. The hand that originally stopped Lily from coming over turned into a palm. Before the grey shadow could hit him, the inner energy in his hand spat out, and he patted the shadow away lightly. After rolling on the ground for several times, it lifted up a large piece of blue brick. After sliding for 7 or 8 meters, it came to a stop. A pale human face was tilted this way at an extremely abnormal angle. It was the ordinary face of A Xiao. With an ordinary face, the grey clothes on his body were in tatters and stained with large amounts of mud. His eyes were now staring, but his pupils were no longer bright. He was staring at Lily and the two expressionlessly. Apparently someone had broken his throat bone early in the morning. I'm a little disgusted that I always hear you calling other people's names from your mouth. A faint voice sounded from far to near. There was a sinister tone in the tone, like a ghost attached to the bones, which made people involuntarily, I started to shiver. Murong Chui-ching, who was wearing a dress with a sloping collar and exposed collarbones and a large chest, appeared in the corridor not far away at some time, with a long whip wrapped around his right hand. He walked out of the shadows, his long hair not tied up. He stood up, his face was a little pale, he lowered his head, but raised his eyelids and stared at Lily, his eyes seemed to be cannibalistic. His movements made his chin extremely pointed, and his eyebrows seemed to be pressed on his eyes, revealing there's a bit of an eerie air. Come here, he stretched out his hand towards Lily. Under the thin piece of clothing, a hideous wound passed across his chest. Only then did the scar fall away, revealing the pink tender flesh inside. This wound at first glance, it was from not long ago. It should have been left by Li Zhaoyang when Murong Chui-ching assassinated Li Yangzi when Lily married into the Li family. Only then did he expose the wound. Unfortunately, he could not kill him at that time, which harmed his legacy. After 1,000 years, the injury almost severed his upper body, but he was still able to survive. Lily frowned when she saw Murong Chuking appear. She subconsciously leaned towards Li Yangzi. Seeing this action, the corners of Murong Chuking's mouth slowly raised, revealing a mouth of white teeth, and his eyes began to slowly become red. His hair began to move without wind, and a fierce murderous intent began to spread out around him, as if mixed with a faint trace of blood, making people feel a slight pain in their chests. To be continued.